veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
welcome in, guys. We are back for the Never Ever Should Have Met, Shouldn't Have Filmed, Should Have Skipped the Reunion for the Never Ever Met Season 2 Reunion Shenanigans. How you guys doing, El Cid and JR? How you guys doing?
Doing very well today. Today, almost 90 degrees up in here.
Yeah. I got you beat. It's 90 plus over here, and we've got 5 days of extreme heat coming.
Same here with no rain in sight. Same here.
JR, what's going on?
Hey, I'm cool, thank you. We had some nice hot weather here too. I would say we are around 86 degrees Fahrenheit, so quite warm for the UK.
Yeah. Ooh, that is warm. Yeah, almost like Jamaica, huh?
Yeah, we've had it for a few days, and yeah, I'm not sure how long it's going to continue, but it's definitely been enjoyable.
Nice, that's nice. Hey, Coltrane, good to see you. Like El Cid said, as you're coming in, please hit the like. Hit the like as you enter the building, okay? Thank you so much. Let's see. I don't know. I just got to ask you guys before we really get started. Like, if you had to rate the reunion on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 10, could you drop in the comments what your how you would rate this episode, the reunion episode that was supposed to give us a lot of juicy details, lots of juicy details, some arguments, maybe even a fist fight. I don't know. Something, anything. Guys, if you're watching live or you watching the replay, give us a score. What would you rate it from 1 to 6? 1 to 10. 1 to 10, with 10 being excellent, outstanding, 8 and 9, same thing pretty much. Well, El Cid said she's going with the 6. What about you, Colton? How about you? JR, if you had to rate this from 1 to 10, tell me, what would you rate it?
Well, I would probably give it a 4. Very underwhelming. A lot of stuff was left out that could have been brought up to give context to a lot of the situations.
Like, give me an example of a couple things that you would have liked to have been asked and answered.
Okay, so obviously we had Brittany touching on the guys, Cinco and things like that we talked about. Also, Alicia doing yoga with Brandon, despite telling Erwin that she didn't want to do yoga, she didn't feel comfortable, but yet she was comfortable with other guys to do it.
Good point.
Did Brandon have anyone in those years? Was he seeing anyone exclusively?
Yes, we needed to dig into that.
What exactly did Alexis get other than a photo? What exactly? I need them to define what Chris gave Alexis. Okay.
Did she get what she came for? Right. Yeah, that's so true, because Kiki was just saying, all she was saying is basically, allegedly, these people were nude, and I was like, Kiki, come on now, you serious, for real?
They didn't deny it.
Well, now you know what? You're right. They did not. So I mean, maybe they were skinny dipping, though.
Well, in fact, Chris kind of invited Kiki into the conversation by saying Kiki nearly called us the second time around.
He sure did. He sure
So
did.
they tried to make it seem as if they were caught in the act doing something.
Why
Yeah.
why why Tatiana was more explosive about the hug that was, exaggerated? Why she was more explosive about that than the kid?
Mm.
Yes. Yes. They mentioned it. I think it was Jay mentioned. She said, "Well, she cared more about the hug than she did about the kid." And but why? Why? So
Mhm.
basically, all of y'all was just playing in our faces. Every single last one of you guys. Every single last one. Right? Because this was not making a lot of sense. Any other pressing things that we,
Yeah. Who
I
who
go ahead.
actually
Yeah, go ahead. Go
who
ahead.
actually contacted somebody else's never ever met person after the show?
Yeah, and it was something
Well,
else. Well, there was something else. Clay's or not. Well, it wasn't Clay. It was Irwin. Irwin's girlfriend. Like this would have been a good time for us to have an IG photograph of this young lady, of the two of them together. Like pull it out, because I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that Irwin has a girlfriend, because when he says it, he's so deadpan. He's not excited. He's not happy. Is this guy suffering from depression? I want to know. I want
He's
to
like
know.
Eeyore. He's like Winnie the Pooh's friend Eeyore. Everything is monotone. But yeah, the way he said he's happy about the relationship.
So it's not just me, okay? It's not just me. Yeah, he's like, I'm happy. And he had not nair spot on his face. Like what? He had a bigger smile on his face when the show was over and he went over to Alicia to talk to her. He had a bigger smile on his face then.
yeah.
I think he still got the hots for Alicia.
Now I think he was happy just to be saying goodbye for the final time and getting on with his life, because that
Mm,
experiment just didn't work. And
it,
I think,
no.
uh, I mean, there's a question you asked about who contacted who's someone else's partner. I think there were two instances which were dead giveaways, maybe inadvertently. The first one was with Kiki calling Charlie and Brandon pancake buddies. They were up making pancakes every morning for everyone, and
Hmm.
they also chose each other as the partner that they would probably like to be with if they weren't there for the person they
Waffle
were meant to be.
buddies. Waffle
Yeah.
buddies.
And then the
Hmm.
other one, and this
Yeah.
may have flown over some people's heads, but when Tatiana was talking, she said she's not dating, she has a roster. And Chris's response was, and I'm on it.
Yep, I
So
heard that.
Oh,
exactly.
I didn't catch that. You heard that? What? I did not
Yeah.
Oh
catch that.
yeah.
So that's Chris saying that he has contacted her. How can you end up on someone's roster of men if you haven't volunteered yourself forward for that, or you haven't got the contact details and been in regular contact?
And
Doesn't
she
make
didn't
sense.
deny it.
Nope. And no
Mm.
one pulled him up on it either. But that's also why I think Clay was on Chris's neck, saying, "Look, man, I see you got eyes for Tatty." And Chris was trying to, do his little manipulation. Is that what you think, brother? Oh, you can't even see what I'm looking at, type thing, right? But no, he just admitted that he's on her roster. Interesting.
I have a challenge for y'all to go back and realize that Chris is wearing the same burgundy suit from his Ready to Love reunion.
No way. I thought something looked familiar, but oh, you are so good. You are so observant. From Ready to Love, huh? The to Love reunion, huh?
Or maybe he can blame production and that's the only suit they would approve of.
Hmm. Okay, I can see where they're asked to bring a couple of outfits, and maybe the color wise, maybe that's what fit into with the other guys. I don't know.
And maybe the color scheme fit with what Tatiana was wearing.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It does kind of match. Shut up. Shut up. You guys are this is crazy. This is so crazy. But so we welcome in Taronda welcomes us into the reunion. And who are we gonna say on the lady side? And we'll come to the gentleman's shot in a second. Who did you guys think they looked who was the best dressed? Who was the most well put together? I'll start with you, JR.
Oh, I think Alicia's wig this time around looked better than the original one. So I
Okay.
think
That's her up at the top on the left, right?
yeah, I think that looked better.
Okay.
I think out of all of the ladies, probably Alexis looked the best in my opinion.
I thought so too. Yes, I agree with you on that. I thought she looked fabulous. I thought so too. Yeah. Okay. All right. Um, Elsie?
Okay.
I was not feeling the Alicia here, but I am not a gentleman who is looking at her in that lens. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was the mean organist church lady vibes, and she personified it with her one-liners, where we will get to. It was for me, between Alexis and Tatiana. I think Alexis came with the reunion sophistication look, and Tatiana came as the sleek, fun, beautiful, gorgeous look. So
Yes.
those ladies for me.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that because I was gonna say Vixen almost even with her attire, but
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So nobody was really feeling our girl Charlie over on the first row to the left, extreme
No,
left,
Nope.
and
not with that Little Mermaid wig. No.
Yeah. Little Jessica Rabbit looking outfit. No.
I will say
you know
Brittany,
what?
this here looks absolutely gorgeous on Brittany, better than the braids, but I understand why she had the braids.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, yeah.
definitely with the heat and with the swimming, and you're gonna
Hmm.
be there 3 weeks away from your hairstylist. Yeah, it was better to go with some braids. I could see that. Yeah.
Also,
I thought
Jay went
Jay.
with a straight hair look as well. She had
Mhm.
braids on the show too, didn't she? Jay.
Yep, yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I did like Jay. I thought Jay looked nice too. But we're gonna get to Jay in a little bit. We're gonna get to Jay. Nobody said Kiki's
Mm.
dress was interesting.
Plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on along. So Toronto's welcoming us into the reunion, welcoming them into the reunion. And first up, we got. Let me get over here to media. First up, we got Erwin and Alicia.
That's unfortunate.
And that's Alicia coming in. Uh, there's Erwin. Um, why was that
Hi,
unfortunate?
Alicia.
I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go, Elsie. Now, why was that unfortunate that we started with them? Because we had to start somewhere. I guess they wanted to start with those who left early.
I just was using Alicia's line, towards her. She
Oh,
used the line, that's unfortunate.
oh yeah. Like, it went right over my head. You're right. You're right. That
I,
was unfortunate.
Erwin just sounded, oh my gosh, Erwin, hi, Alicia. It just was too much for me. Young man,
I
you
think he
know,
still likes her. He still
and
gets her.
so you self-proclaim you got a woman at home and you happy. You sound thirsty. I'm sorry. It didn't
Yeah.
sound like a how you doing, Felicia. It's like hi, Alicia. It sounded like hey. It was too much for me. That's
Would
just
you
me.
To
would you
me,
give me a second chance, maybe? Yeah, type of thing. Go ahead, Jr.
to me, it sounded like he was trying to wind her up a little bit, antagonize her by being patronizing. Straight up
Mm.
with that.
I can see where it could go either way. I can see that, but I will say I took it as, and you guys drop down in the chat. We're here live, so drop down in the chat and tell us, what did you think when he said, "Hey, Alicia"? Was Erwin being thirsty? Did you feel like me that he still has a thing for Alicia, or like what Jr. is saying? Did you think he said it just to be patronizing and really was just trying to make a dig at her, a slight little dig? What do you guys think? Uh, yeah, that what Elsie, what did you say? What do you think about that?
I thought it sounded thirsty. It sounded like she was paying him no mind and he wanted attention. It was a little too much. Now, what I will say about Irvin is that no matter what scene we have seen him in the show or here, his locks are always on point. I will say that about Irwin. His hair His
Yes.
locks are always looking immaculate.
Yes, absolutely. I will agree with you on that. I was saying to Jay, now this is okay, guys. Don't take this the wrong way. But I said this weeks ago to JR, and I don't know if we were live or we were talking just off the air. I believe we were talking off the air. And I said, I think that Alicia liked Irwin, but I think that physically, I think his hairline kind of threw her for a loop. No disrespect, no disrespect, Irwin, but got to call a thing. And hey, a lot of us as we age, we start to lose that hairline, right? It starts to recede back.
Sometimes the locks are too heavy, and it does cause thinning to the front as well. And
Thanks, Stevie Wonder. Thanks, Stevie
yep,
Wonder. Love you too,
yep.
Stevie, my boy.
But that is not to the character of a man. So if she is thrown off by the hairline, certainly I could understand. But if that's the main reason, that's very superficial.
And I would also say that if you're in the habit of having your hair pulled back, over the course of time, your hairline does begin to get messed up a bit because you're pulling on those roots at the front. So that naturally happens. And if, by the looks of things, he's been growing those locks for years, that doesn't just happen over the course of a few months. So continuously getting his hair braided, pulled back in the styles, that's the unfortunately the downside to that is you start to lose that hairline at the front.
Yeah, that's so true. When they were talking, we had Ty interject. Ty was saying, well, you're gaslighting my boy. You're gaslighting Irwin. And Alicia was saying, well, you know what? I feel like Irwin was too busy listening to everybody else in the house instead of being his own man. What did you think of that? Do you agree, JR?
Nah, I don't agree. But if everyone in the house is saying the same thing, then why isn't Alicia paying attention to that? That obviously means it's not just Irving that sees a problem. If other people are speaking about it, then other people must have had a problem. Now, I disagree because he said that's not the case. The case was he, through his own experiences with her, felt like he was being gaslit and manipulated. And, every time something happened where he would want to sit down and talk to her, it would end up being his fault and no accountability on her end. And it just became frustrating. Yeah. So when she, and then obviously that goes into the comments she made about not feeling safe, which they addressed on the stage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come to. Thank you for bringing me to that. So we saw, God, why am I getting this wrong? Taronda, I'm sorry. Taronda pointed out that these two had their share of issues. And she mentioned that, and then Alicia mentioned, wait a minute. Am I getting my couples mixed up? Who had the issue of consent? Was that Ty and Brittany? That was more Ty and Brittany, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the gaslighting came up. What did you feel about them bringing up gaslighting? Did you feel that Alicia was gaslighting Irwin, Elsid?
I don't necessarily think that's the definition of gaslighting to me. She just was not clear with him. She was not clear with how she was expressing herself. She was giving him mixed messages, is what I would say, because it just, if you're telling a man that you don't feel safe, and his energy is off and he leaves and you call him back, that is mixed messages. And it could be that she doesn't even understand what she feels in that moment, or she's caught, lying, caught in the lie of doing yoga with Brandon, saying that she didn't want to do yoga, and she said these triggering words. And, the one thing I will applaud her for, she took accountability for saying it was a mistake to use those words, but she didn't take back the sentiment.
No, she didn't.
Right. And I would say it's gaslighting because, like you just said, Um, First of all, she was doing yoga with Brandon, despite telling Erwin that she's not ready to do something so intimate.
We know,
She
yeah.
doesn't know Brandon.
But
So that
mhm.
is a very manipulative and gaslighting thing to do, because she reversed it to make it seem like he was insecure rather than, it doesn't make any sense what you said. You're
Okay,
right. If
yeah.
we've been talking online for X amount of time, we're in an online relationship, we meet up physically for the first time. You tell me that you're uncomfortable with me being in your space as close to you as we would be doing yoga, but yet you go and do it with some random that you just met that day in
Oh,
the
not
house.
not the rando, not the rando.
Rando
Mhm.
Brando.
Yeah,
Oh, rando. You
exactly.
silly.
And then the other thing that she gaslit him on is, obviously she still maintained somewhat that she had an attraction to him, but every intimacy challenge they took, she was happy not to participate. Or if they came out and got eliminated first, then she was excited that phew, we don't have to be intimate. Phew, we don't have to be close. We don't have to be touching. Okay, so you're not feeling that, man. Because if you're in a relationship and you ain't feeling him, where else is he supposed to go for intimacy if you want an exclusive relationship?
Yeah, yeah. The mixed messages, and we get mixed messages with another couple a little bit later on too. El Cid, do you feel like this was really truly mixed messages on her part with the,
She just
I feel
she
like,
just didn't like him, and she didn't know how to say she didn't like him and didn't want to continue with him.
okay,
I think if she had told Irwin, I'm not sure how it would have gone on. That, hey, Irwin, this really isn't what I expected, but maybe we could just stay here and enjoy this time here. I
okay,
don't know if he would truly go for it, but it's just the giving him the hope that something can build with them was incorrect. And her telling the other men, mind your business.
yeah. I was going to ask you guys, what did you think of that? Because she said, "I'm not going to be bullied." Now, so at the point where she said, "I'm not going to be bullied by you guys," I felt like we missed a lot. That was probably some stuff that we could have saw that would have been interesting. Ugh.
Yep. The cast on IG, they said that lots of spicy stuff was crossed out. I think what she's saying is it could be a bit of both. Two things could be true. That her perception is that the men fed into Irwin, and Irwin, had changed his mind, and it could be that he always had his mind, in a particular way, and the men shared the same sentiment.
Right. And I think we can't overlook the comment she made that she's above all of this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's an air of, I'm looking down on you guys. You guys
Mm-hmm.
ain't worth my time.
Mm-hmm.
That
A little
type
bit
of
of
energy.
arrogance. Yeah, a little
Right.
bit of arrogance. Yeah.
So that's horrible. So, when you put all of these pieces of the jigsaw together, you're seeing that Owen saying he felt gaslit and manipulated by her. She didn't take accountability for things she said or the way she behaved with other men in the house or whatever. And then she's got this air of super, I'm above everybody in the house, or I'm above the guy that I'm supposed to be here for or whatever. So all of those things combined, and that's why Owen probably feels as salty as he does. This experiment did not work out well for him at all. He looked like a fool, pretty much,
Yeah.
during his time.
Yeah, that's it. Because she even had to ask the girl. She says, "Well, what do you guys think?" And of course, Tatiana was right there pumping her up, like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right." you know.
Mm. So if the guys should stay out of it, then shouldn't the women as well? Or is it the women are allowed to back her up and Owen's not to receive no support?
That was the foolishness I was looking at. Alicia, you just told the men, mind your business, but then you're looking to the ladies for somebody to co-sign what you were doing. Everybody needs to mind
Mhm.
their business then.
Right,
Exactly.
right, right. Well, at least these two did not have any secrets. I guess the only secret was that Alicia really wasn't feeling Irwin, and he was the last to find out, to figure it out. So
Well, he had an
Yeah.
ex that called that he ran back to. That could be considered, secret.
That's true. If you believe that, if you guys believe that that actually took place, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. But anything else we want to say about these two? And speaking of Irwin, now we're going to talk about the men real quickly. What did you guys think? Who was best dressed? Most put together for the reunion on the men's side?
Oh, Brandon. Oh, yes.
Hmm.
That's a
Why,
handsome man. That's a handsome man.
he is very handsome now. But I said put together, not just handsome. But what did you like
Put
about his?
together from the hair, the jewelry. Look at the
Hmm.
suit. Which buttons to leave unbuttoned. Brandon came to showcase, and I'm not mad at
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Not mad at it at all. He did look good. Who's got a second best in there? Are we gonna say Chris? Are we gonna say Jared? What do you guys think? Or Irwin? I don't know.
You see, I cannot give it to Jared because that whole I don't know, gentlemen. I don't know about that haircut lineup, and then the braids start an inch behind the line. That just irks the heck out of me. I would give the second close second to Ty. He looked, his shoes are polished.
Yeah. Yeah.
The crease of his pants is straight. I will give him that look, the red on black. I will give Ty an honorable mention.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of jazzy. I did like that, and his yeah, the fro and everything is froing. Yeah. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I kind of wish that because another standout, or would have been a standout, I feel like is Cinco, but he didn't have on a suit jacket or anything, so I was kind of a little disappointed about that. But he's such a
Right.
he's a very handsome guy.
I would give the best dressed to actually Cinco because it's a very casual look, but still smart.
Yeah,
I think red is too bright. I'm not feeling the red suits and the red blazers. So I'd probably say, in terms of clothing, it'll be
hmm.
Brandon and Irving after Cinco.
Okay,
Um, in
okay.
terms of overall, I probably would say Cinco and Brandon.
But
Hmm.
the reunion is not for casual. The reunion is supposed to come best dressed.
Yeah, that's I guess that's my expectation. That is my expectation that the ladies are going to come out in gowns. They're gonna their hair, their makeup is going to be flawless. The guys are going to come out in suits, or just really come out
Suited and
sharp,
booted.
suited and yeah, there you go, suited and booted. So Jared, what do you have to say to that? You don't agree that the men should be suited and booted? They should just be casual?
I think smart casual is a thing. You don't always have to wear a blazer to be considered smart. But
Okay.
um, also, if the lights are on and it's hot and everything, like we saw Clay sweating, um, maybe sitting there with a blazer might be uncomfortable for some. So I would still go with
Hmm.
Cinco. And then I
Okay.
would say Brandon, at least he's wearing a light color. So it looks smart and it stands out compared to the rest of the dudes as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, guys, you seem to have everybody has their pick of who was sharp and who was ready for the reunion. So I have to agree with all of you. So we move on. We go to the next couple, which is Clay and Tati, right? And we begin to talk about to Clay and Tati, and it seemed to me like the only thing that everybody wanted to discuss, including Taronda, was the hug. What there was a big workup about the hug. Did you feel like these guys covered enough of the other things that were going on between this couple and about the secret and all of that? What would you say, Jr.?
Mm, I would say the hug in itself is a violation. All right. That
Okay.
kind of intimate hug between friends in front of your girl is going to cause problems. But the
But it
hug was
wasn't. But
still
it wasn't.
exaggerated
But
by
was,
the other housemates.
but was it in front of his girl? His girl didn't see it.
No, but she's present, right? So
Okay.
it gives room for people to go and tell her that, wow, did you see the way? And that's exactly what happened. And they added their own spice to it by reenacting it. And, you know, that made the situation a whole lot worse. But yeah, so the hug was definitely a step too far. You could have just embraced normally that whole jump up on him, and yeah, that's too much.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Elsie, what do you think? Did they make too much out of the hug? We didn't really get a lot of conversation about the baby. How did this baby come about? I didn't even hear him tell her about the ex-fiance that moved in with him that he got pregnant. Did anybody catch that? That's something.
Exactly. For
That's
the hug,
something he told
for the
everybody else. Go ahead, Elsie. I'm sorry.
right, for the hug, I would have to quote Alicia, mind your business, because everybody just exaggerated it, and we saw it that they, even Alexis was carrying Chris, and that was not how it looked. And because they're playing past the message, Jay decided to pass the message to Tatiana that was incorrect. Yes, he lifted her off the ground and her leg came up. Yes, that happened. But to say that she wrapped her two legs around him, that was actually false according to what we saw in the replay. And then to have her go out there and act upon that. But for me, the temporary hug, yes, he hugged his friend. Look at him. Then have a discussion, say, hey, I really don't appreciate that. And that's, is a boundary and seems disrespectful. You can talk and adjust behavior for a hug. It can be uncomfortable. This is the first time meeting. You observe. You observe and you have a discussion. Now that baby he done had, you can't adjust for that.
Talk about it. Nobody's talking about this. Men always want to talk about women who have children that are not theirs and then coming in and raising somebody else's children. Women, you hardly ever hear women talking about, I don't want to be a stepmom. I don't want a guy that doesn't have, children or whatever. Not talking about the guy that has, kids all over the place. Not talking about him, but just one or two kids. Women have to make adjustments for that. Oftentimes we're the ones that are literally raising the children anyway. So nobody ever talks about that.
Nobody talks about the man who is spreading his self and his samples all over the gardens.
Not as samples.
I wanted to say something else, but
we'll leave it as samples. We'll leave it as samples. Okay. And there is talk in the Instagram and the Reddit world that allegedly that it's possible that Clay may have more than that one child and another child on the way. Has anybody else heard any of that rumor, JR?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, you both of you. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot, but nobody ever talked about that. But I think that what Tatiana said when asked about what her expectations were coming into the house, her comment, my expectation was to have fun. I think looking back at it now, it says it all. Most of these people were on vacation, right? We know Kiki was on vacation. She took it as a vacation. And I feel like, honestly, Tatiana, who I was very concerned about, maybe I shouldn't have been so concerned about her because she just came to have fun, little casual, sex, no big deal. Did anybody else feel like that, or did I miss something?
No, well, I figured that out when she said that, and this is after they got eliminated. She said on a live that she wanted to continue to stay on the show to collect those checks, even if her and Clay didn't work out. So we thought it was very unfair that he decided to leave when they did, because that meant no more appearances on the show equals no more money. That's what she was peed about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw and heard that too, and I was like, "Oh, we all concerned about Tati and Clay breaking her heart, and she actually thinking about Clay, cutting up her check for the show."
Yeah, so she was there for fun and for money. We can add money to that equation too. Fun and money / money. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I think that one last thing. Did anybody see either of these two? I believe it was Clay that was the one that was on another show. And I believe it was actually the girl who he said was his friend on this other
Mhm.
reality show. She played his girlfriend. So what's going
Mhm.
on with that? Anybody else see that?
Yeah, I was actually about to say that.
Okay.
It like because now that they've had time to watch the show back and obviously seen social media activity and things, I would have thought that would be a valid point to raise on this reunion. What is your relationship with your friend? Because on this previous show, she's gone on and said that she's one of his exes, and she detailed how they dated and how long it lasted for, and things like that. So, how is she just your friend, if that's the case, and godmother to your child? You know?
Also, the friend, did not want her profession to be known on the show, yet he was telling all the housemates. I would certainly ask him. This is where, one of the friends or family members, I wouldn't mind a second reunion, stretch this out, and have a special guest.
Yes. What JR, what did I say the other week? This should be a two-parter because that way we can get all the juicy details. But what they gave us was this thinking one-parter, and they cut out all the juicy details. And I
Yeah.
also felt like, and Taronda, respectfully, I felt like Taronda was really trying to like not allow it to be messy, not allow it to be dramatic. She wanted everybody to hold hands and kumbaya. And I don't feel like that's necessarily the purpose of a reunion. Is it just me? Is it just me? What did you feel, El Cid?
No, it's not just you. I think there was too many couples, too much, that needed to be hashed out for each of them for it to be just one, reunion.
Yep.
Because it's seven couples. You had to rush through it to make it into 1 hour. You
Yeah.
could have had a 2 hour reunion if you wanted to and take up the whole Friday night.
There you go. There you go. Could have did that. Could have did it that way if you
But
didn't want to
Clay's
break it up.
friend
Hmm.
needed to show up.
Yep. She was
I don't
one.
think that would have been a good idea. I think that would have been messy because
But
her
that's
and
what we want.
Tati,
You're missing the point, JR. We want messy. This is a reunion. We want people to argue and have discourse. We want that.
yeah,
But go
but
ahead.
if that's the case, you'd have to bring Charlie's ex-husband. You'd have to bring
We
Kiki's
did.
ex-boyfriend or ex-fiance.
Now, that would have
Yeah,
been good.
right.
That would
You'd
have
have to bring all of these
been.
extra people on.
Yeah, but I mean, not all. We got to pick and
Wait,
choose. You
so
got
they're
to use
selective?
discernment.
No, no,
Yeah,
no. Every
selective.
couple had their well, most of the couples had secrets. And if you bring
Okay.
on their external person that they had secrets with, i.e., their exes or whatever, then
Hmm.
yeah, it would descend into chaos. Because in Tati's case in particular, her and that friend do not get along. And putting them in the same room on the same stage is obviously going to lead to backbiting and fighting. So I don't think that would have been a good idea.
I
Again,
disagree.
Clay would have been caught in the middle.
So okay,
And
so but do you agree that it could have been a two-part reunion, being that we had so many couples? What can you would you give us that at least?
yeah, I think it should have been a two-part, a longer reunion
Mm-hmm.
because again, there was so much stuff left out. They could
Yep.
have gone into quite a few more cases, and that could have given more context or allowed us to see their thoughts, having gone through the show and had that time to reflect and watch it back, and
Yeah.
what their reaction is now
Yeah.
on some of those issues.
I would have liked, like you said, it could have been. I love what you and El Cid are saying too. Basically, it could have been longer, hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm thinking probably 2 hours to include the juicy tidbits that we're talking about. Some of these extra players in the game that came to the house, like El Cid said, the best friend godmother who really wasn't the godmother, really wasn't the best friend, but somebody that he used to kick it with, which is what Tati had said. That kind of gave that feeling. Um, but we're gonna move on to the next couple, which is this lady right here. Um, you know, this is where we have the consent issue, right? I started to say it for another couple, but this is where we get into the consent issue because Brittany really, first of all, I don't think she really, just like Alicia didn't like Irwin. I feel like Brittany didn't like Ty. She really didn't. But also with Ty, the thing of it is that Ty liked to put his hands on Brittany and his lips. And I'm just thinking, like, it's two things could be true at the same time. She didn't like him romantically speaking, but also he was doing too much and really wasn't paying attention to the signals that she was sending out. Um, what do you think, Elsid?
Here's my thing. This is you saying a consent issue. I think the way she is phrasing this, she is trying to get the man caught up with a case. Okay.
Mhm.
The way it
okay.
is described is like Ty is kind of manhandling her and she actually is saying no the way it's described, but that's not what it is.
Okay.
But here's my thing with Brittany is you do not like touching all of that, but you're touching on other people's persons. And you didn't want Ty to be touching you except for touching your glass to hand it to you full, touching your plate to hand you breakfast, and touching your feet to rub it. Then you should not be touching on other people in the house.
Exactly.
This is where men have a hard time with a lady, and it's like, okay, I'm doing this. Ty, and I don't know Ty. I do not know Brittany. Ty doesn't scream to me as a guy that would go in, not not giving a pause for like, am I going in? It's kind of like double dutch. Can I go in? Can I jump in now? He doesn't scream to me as a guy that would not accept, because he even asked. He asked for the kiss at his house. He asked for some extra. He asked for some tongue with that kiss. Ty, what we have seen on camera, Ty has not been touching her without consent. Now, it's okay. Yes, two things can be true. She could be uncomfortable with his touch and she can freeze. But there are nonverbal cues you can give. And he did say he pulled back. And when he pulled back and he said, no, we won't have good chemistry, what did she do? Bless him in the kitchen, finger to the face. Brittany does not. I'm sorry, Brittany. I don't believe you that you have a problem speaking up to yourself when you put your finger in the man's face and you had no problem telling the house how you felt about him.
I agree 100% with that.
I have to agree with that too.
This is the thing. I think what Ty's trying to say is we've been forming this relationship online, and now we have the chance to meet each other in person. So obviously you're going to try and build a physical and intimate connection in person now. Now, this couple won the intimacy challenge where they were doing the positions in front of everybody, right?
Yep.
So when they won that intimacy challenge, the first thing that they did to celebrate was hug and kiss on the lips, right? So if she didn't want that, or if there was a boundary that was crossed, then that would be the moment to say, listen, I know we got into the moment and we kissed and this, that, the other, but I still feel a way about that type of stuff so soon. So I would respectfully ask that we refrain from doing any physically intimate gestures, right? Now, the other thing is, and this came from her own mouth, she said that she didn't actually tell him about these boundaries in person when they had met. This basically happened on a conversation over the phone where she said, I don't want you kissing on me. I don't want you this, that, the other, right? But in person, she never said that. So how is he supposed to know that that boundary is still there? Because as far as he's experiencing, they've won the intimacy challenge. So that means there's a case to build on that intimacy and that connection, which is why it may have been so touchy-feely.
You're right. That's a very good point. Yeah.
She doesn't like that, man. Let's say, for example, if she was started tickling Cinco, which she did, imagine if Cinco had started tickling her back. Would her reaction have been don't touch me, I got a man, or I got boundaries, or this, that, the other. Or would
Nope.
she have said, that's just my personality? I like tickling people and it's just my way of right. But you didn't do that with Ty, not one time. So why are you hiding that side of your personality from the guy that you've got the connection with, but freely allowing yourself to touch people or be touched in reciprocation if you have a boundary about that? Doesn't make sense to me. More double talk.
How do I pronounce this? Help me out, Jr. Ionod.
Yeah, I'll nod.
Ionod. Okay, Ionod. This right here, what you're saying, that part, that some of the women on this cast have overinflated egos of themselves. Absolutely, that part.
Yep.
That part. And Elsie is agreeing too. Jr. Sounds like you're over there agreeing too.
Yeah, it feels like they are better than their man that they've chosen to be with.
Right. And I would expect this for a married at first sight, or you didn't have a choice in the person you're coming here with, but you chose this person.
Exactly.
And spent months, if not years, courting this person or being courted by this person or talking to this person over the phone. Like, what?
Exactly. That's the confusing part. You know, you actually had a choice to date this person, and now you're acting as if you're better than them. So, and this is going for Alicia and Brittany for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They both expressed how they are kind of above everybody else. Brittany did it in the house when she was clashing with Jay and Ty. You know, she was like, "Yeah, you guys, you know, I'm above all of you, and this petty behavior and all this other stuff." Yeah, she was putting out a lot of condescending vibes and
Yeah.
arrogant vibes.
Very arrogant. And yeah, speaking of Jay, so Jay is at the reunion and she's saying that, hey, look, maybe the reason why Brittany was touching all over Cinco, uh, doing things with, the other guys and touching on them. She said maybe it was alcohol because she was drinking a lot. Do you guys agree
Mhm.
from what we saw? It felt like maybe she had been drinking a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an observation that a fellow castmate has, then it could be true. And we also did see her shaded up in bed, you know, eating breakfast that Ty delivered to her on his Uber
Hmm.
service. She was in bed in sunglasses eating that. So, um, yeah, maybe she was drinking a bit. But like you said, some people are treating it as a vacation, a
Yep.
paid vacation as well, where there's free alcohol and all of that stuff going around. So make the most of it.
If
Yeah,
if
it was a
Ty
lot. Go
if
ahead.
Ty stayed with her, he would be doing that. He will be serving and apologizing the rest of his life.
That
And
part.
he may even descend into heavy drinking himself.
Yeah, he would probably need to stay so well. I can't stay sober, but stay sane. That's the word I'm looking for. Stay
Yeah.
sane. So, with this being said, so Britt and Jay proceeded to basically get into a little bit of a back and forth, if you will.
Mhm.
And Taronda asked, "Well, why is this? Why aren't you two? Why is it you two didn't get along in the house?" And Jay basically said, "I don't know." To which Brittany said, "She's rude. She's rude. She came in when we first met, and she walked into the room with all of us ladies there, and she didn't even say hello." What do you think about that, Elsie?
Whether she said hello or not, just one instance doesn't mean the woman has been rude throughout. It's the first meeting. It's heightened. You're not there to meet the other people. I wouldn't even remember if she said hi or not because I'm focused on my person. So
Right.
again, where's your focus? Why is it on, I got to get a golden engraved hi from everyone and Jay didn't give me my engraved hello. I wouldn't even know who said hello or who did not. And with Charlie co-signing, since that's her best friend, I don't even look at that co-sign correctly because Charlie could just be on Brittany's side.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Because we
Jay hit her with I guess the older, lady isn't, happy with the younger ladies in the house.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, what did you think? Thank you for bringing that up. What'd you think about that comment? Was Jay? I mean, we know she's throwing shade, but was that a good read? Because I felt like I'm kind of like over there on Brittany's side. There's not too much difference, especially at this reunion. The way Jay's got her hair, there's not too much difference in appearance of you two's age. I don't
And there's
know.
a 10-year
I,
year gap.
I
And the
disagree with
continue,
that.
yeah. Okay, what do you think? You think that Jay does look more her age and not like the two of them couldn't meet in the middle? I think Jay is what lower 30s, and this woman is what 40 or 39. I think they can meet in the middle and both be 35.
I don't. I think Jay definitely looks younger. I think there was some shade from both sides,
Oh
but
yeah, but no
uh,
doubt.
yeah, but um, I don't also see Charlie's co-sign as anything because she's gonna stand by her best friend in the house regardless. But I would also say that um, there was a clip at the very beginning of the reunion where it showed all of the castmates entering the house. And there was a clip where Jay actually stood there and waved as some of the guests were coming in. Kiki was definitely in the shot, but she just
Mhm.
stood there and she waved to everyone. And that's what she said on stage that she actually did. She
Yeah,
just waved and said hi. She didn't go and personally greet the ladies because she's there to meet her man, not the other women like that.
right. She's
She
kind of
ready to hit the showers. That's what it was.
she's ready to hit that shot. Right, because they had just come back from playing ball. That's true too.
That too.
I'm trying to think of her name. Oh my God, how can I can see her. I can hear her voice. Ready to Love, the season with Phil, when we were in DC, the season with Phil, the
Hmm.
young lady that he liked first before he ended up with, he was being pawned over by two other women at the very beginning.
Right?
Hmm?
Shy.
No. She has children. She'd been married before and she had
Oh.
two children.
I know who you're talking about. Pink something. Her is her business. I know who
Yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah. Guys, I don't know. Help me out if you're in the chat and you can think of who I'm talking about. Why can't we interviewed her? It's one of my best interviews. My God, she's gonna kill me. But it reminds me of her. Something she said with Jay. They're alike in the sense that they're saying, you know what, I'm here. I'm here for my man. I'm not here for the ladies. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for my man and to see what we can do, where we can go from here on to build on our relationship. She reminds me of her. She reminds me very much of her. Would you agree, Jr.?
Yeah, I can see where you draw the comparison. Mm.
Okay. And Elsie, would you agree with that?
I can kind of see it. Not completely, but I understand.
Okay. Okay. I'm
You
trying to. Go ahead.
oh gosh.
Go
Not
ahead.
Alila. No, 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 no. Sorry. I was looking up the cast of Ready to Love, but no, I can't find it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you in a minute. I'm gonna tell you in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna press forward. So they were kind of spatting a little bit, but hey, I think that's what people do. They were spatting. They're gonna both have to get over it. It's okay. It's gonna be all right. So we move on, and Tarana decides to, since games were so popular, she
Mm.
decides to open up with the game, and we get lots of questions. One of which is, who was the biggest peacemaker in the house? To which most of the ladies said Cinco, and quite a few of the men said Cinco. So Cinco won that. Um, what would you think about that? Do you think you agree with that? Was Cinco, from what we saw, seemed to be the biggest peacemaker?
Yeah, from what we saw, yeah, I would definitely say that he's been trying to mend fences and stuff, but he does have a few zingers. Him gassing up Kiki, telling her that what she did with Brandon overlapping the fiance wasn't really cheating. So, but he a peacemaker for sure from what we saw.
Hmm. Yeah, from what we saw. I mean, he did a good job of balancing it out. Now he was hanging out with the guys, listening to Jared and uh, Clay, basically, showing how sleazy they both could be. But I think that's kind of par for the course for a lot of men, is to talk about how they use women, and it's a big joke in the man circle. Like, yeah, I'm gonna use her, I'm gonna crack her, and then I'm a dumper. Yeah, she got 4 kids, and I told her I was gonna be with it, but I'm not with it. It's kind of what we saw going on there. So Cinco one, I think, who was it that said that Jared was the peacemaker? Was that was that Clay? Who was that? If you recall.
Yeah, I think it was Clay, because remember, he's the one that Clay was sitting by the pool with, telling all the business, and Clay was the first one to push him to go talk to Tatiana after his friend left. So I could see how Clay would choose Jared.
And also, Jared was the one that was sitting there telling Brittany that she's not being affectionate with Ty, and maybe his love languages aren't being met, and she isn't basically doing anything for him while he's doing everything for her. So he was kind of being the intermediary for that situation as well, trying to make her see maybe she's not putting enough effort in and Ty's doing all the work. So Jared was doing that, but he's too messy. I think he was kikiing and giggling and causing carnage.
Oh yeah, causing carnage for sure.
Yeah. I would also say that Jay as well. Jay was quite petty and messy in the show too. She was instigating a lot of things. She exaggerated the hug. She was, basically just chiming in, much like we saw on the stage in the early parts of this reunion. She was chiming in throughout the house on situations too that didn't necessarily concern her.
Yeah, what would you say about that, El Cid?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's why I say Cinco. I can see where Jared would be a peacemaker. Not many other people I would say would be peacemakers. A close third will be Brandon, but Brandon has had his pop-up moments.
Yeah. Al Nod said Jay is awful. She's an eavesdropper. She's a messy gal. She's too hard and masculine. Yeah, when we get to cover them in a second. Yeah, I feel you. I've been saying that Jay, she's very competitive, which is nothing wrong with that, but I don't know if I kept saying on social media that it's a Chicago thing to be distant and to act like your man is not that important to you. I kept seeing this over and over again. It's a Chicago thing. That's how we are here in Chicago. I was like, wow, I've been to Chicago plenty of times, but I never noticed that. So I don't know if you're out there and you're from Chicago, live in Chicago. Tell us if that's a Chicago thing, that women try to act like they don't want their man, especially a good one, because that was weird to me. That was really, really weird. But we had some other questions in the game. I don't know how we got to this. Like,
how would you switch?
Look at the screen. Look at the screen.
On this screen.
On here. Yes. I'm
okay, sorry. They asked, how often do you watch Korn and what kind?
Right. And Alexis said, well, they asked the men, and the men, I think Chris said something like, what, twice a week, which
Chris said, twice a week, I think.
Which I was like, dude, you watch porn probably twice every hour. Like, what are you talking about? Men watch porn like a ridiculous amount. I mean, there are men in the world that have actually lost their jobs because they're trying to watch porn at work, idiots. But anyway.
Yeah, but I think women are obviously sneaky with it, because I would never have thought that I would have heard what I heard on this show, because
that's Alexis. That's your girl Alexis, because me, I don't want no parts of it. I'm sorry.
Alexis, Tati, Jay.
Jay was with it.
I'm not surprised that who was with it.
Boy.
The dominant personalities. I was not surprised.
Well, you know what? And it was funny because they said, well, we like to see men make other men squeal. I was like, oh, that was funny. I had to laugh at that.
I didn't laugh at that. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you grabbed your butt cheeks.
Yes, yo, I was like, wait a minute. That's how you get off? by watching that. Ew,
Nah.
crazy.
Let me tell you
Okay,
guys. Go
okay
ahead.
now.
Mhm,
Now we
mhm.
know gentlemen like to watch girls together, some gentlemen. So again, turnabout is fair play that there are
Hmm.
women who do like to watch men together.
I was just about to tell you my little story real quick. So years ago, I'm working the auto show, and I'm in the great city of Chicago, and this older gentleman was a cab driver back when we had cabs before Uber, long before Uber. This older gentleman, well versed in the city and where to go, took me on the ride of my life that night, and he took me to see the sights. And then we said, it was a weekend. I had the day off the next day from the show, and I said, he said, what else would you like? I said, I want to go out. I want to find one of your nicer clubs. He said, okay, well, tell me this. He says, what kind of clubs do you like? What kind of music? So I told him the kind of music. What kind of crowd? I told him the crowd. So then he said, well, what about a mixed crowd? I said, yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm into diversity and this type of thing, right? So we go to this club. I mean, the club is gorgeous. The fixings, the architecture is just fabulous. The people, all the people inside of it are fly. So I'm walking around this huge club, right? And I get to this one like smaller room, and I take a seat and I ordered my drink. And so there's a screen up above the bar. And all of a sudden, I see these two men clapping cheeks. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I come out of that room. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on there. So I come out of that room and I go into the main bar, and I'm sitting there talking to my cab driver. We're having our drinks or whatever. And I'm looking at these men. I'm like, oh my God, they are so handsome. Every one of them looked like they came off a magazine cover. All the women were gorgeous. So he said, you think the women are gorgeous? He said, look at that one a little bit closer. I looked. He said, what do you see in her neck? I said, is that an Adam's apple? He said, it sure is. And he said, most of the women in here are actually guys. And this is a mixed club. I said, this is a mixed club. I was talking about racially. I wasn't talking about this.
That's why you need definitions. The minute he said mixed, I was like, oh yeah, she don't know
We in
what she's in
Chicago now.
for.
We in
Well,
Chicago.
I got a question, Aubrey. Was this a Diddy party?
No. But you know what? From where I come from, and I mean I've been around, but it may as well have been. It may as well have been, because I was like, when I saw that, I mean, this is on a huge screen. These men are going. I'm like, like, why is this in the club? I've never seen porn in the club ever in my life.
You're lucky that it's on the TV screen. What I have seen is on the TV screen, because there you can choose to go and view that in person in the room down the hall.
Let me say that again. Back
Basically, you see on the what's on the TV screen is actually live in a room down the hall, and you could go see it live.
Oh my! I've heard about those places, and a lot of places. There's some places in New York. I'm sure probably in other
Yep.
major cities. But yeah, I've heard about those places in New York for sure.
Right.
And I've
So it
been to New
seems
York. I've been to New York a few times, but I thank God I've never been to those places. What are you
it
gonna say,
seems
Jay?
it seems like the taxi driver uh, took you to a adult club where things go down instead of a music club.
That's why he asked mixed.
Yeah, his mix and my mix were definitely different. So
Mhm.
when he pointed out that the ladies, the beautiful ladies, were actually gentlemen, uh, about that time, I said, hey, you know what? Let's get our coats. It's time to go.
That was my kind of club in New York. I'm sorry, Aubrey. You would have seen me if that was New York. That's my kind of club,
But
because
now
I would
go
feel
ahead.
safe. They're one of the safest places,
That
for
may be
me.
very well be true, but what threw me off was the gay porn. And I don't have
Gotcha.
anything against gay people, homosexuals, lesbians. I don't have anything against them. But what I don't want to see is gay porn. I don't.
Understood.
Yeah,
And
but
the
it
other thing is,
was an experience for
like
sure.
obviously your mixed and his mix weren't mixing, but um,
Oh,
if the woman had hit on you in the club, like tried to get with you, because some women can be persistent as
hmm
well. Like, they act like dudes supposedly. So they'll be coming to you with a little masculine energy, trying to get your number in this, that, and the other. It could have been an uncomfortable situation for you.
Now I've been in that. Let's talk about Minneapolis during the auto show tour. Let's talk about Minneapolis, but that's a whole nother story. Right here, Jay may go both ways, the way she thinks and the way she acts. That's what I was kind of wondering. And maybe
Yeah,
it's me. Maybe I'm kind of like more traditional in terms of what I look at as being masculine and what's feminine. And my daughter used to play basketball. My daughter is an athlete. She played quite a few sports and was excellent at them. So I watched basketball, um, volleyball, track and field. But I think that some of the girls that I've seen over the years that played basketball that were like Jay, when they got to college, most of them kind of turned, if you know what I mean.
right. A lot
They
of
were in a same-sex relationship.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is common in some female sports where there is a higher concentration of that happening, friendly fire happening. But Jay, it would be interesting actually if her confession of being with more than one person in a 24-hour span was potentially a man and a woman. We didn't get any clarity on that either.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, one of you. Ooh, but I thought it was the question asked. Was it? Oh, you're right. It was asked two people. It wasn't. The gender wasn't stated. You're right. Oh wow. Hey, Miss Wilson, where you been? Where you been? Yeah, we're talking. We're on. Yep, we're down on our third couple. We were talking about. We're talking about the game right now. We're talking about the mid-time, the halftime highlights of the game. Remember the game that they played with Taronda? Anything else about the game? I think I got a couple more shots here.
Yeah. If you were to switch partners, who would you switch to?
Yeah, that part.
You had that photo up with what the ladies chose.
Wait a minute, hold on. Not the Cinco one. Oh.
Yep, there you go. But this
is another question. That's another question. But I see what you're saying though.
That's the peacemaker.
Well, when they said who would you date, so Chris's name came up, and Chris put Tati, and Tati put down Chris.
They were saying who's hitting on someone else's partner after the house? Who do you think?
Right. Okay. So what's that going on in the background, guys? So what would you say about the Chris and the Tati part of the question, JR?
I would say that yes, Chris and Tati. I did catch when Tati was asked what her current relationship status is, and she said she has a roster, and then Chris instantly said, "Yeah, and I'm on it." So I caught that. Yep. So when they chose each other on the game, I thought, okay, they're clearly doing something, and also it was Brandon and Charlie that picked each other as well.
Yes.
Waffle buddies.
Waffle buddies.
Yep.
Well, at least we know Brandon can cook breakfast as well. The men certainly showed their culinary skills on the show, apparently.
They did. They really did. But now, wait a minute. Let's talk about this Charlie and Brandon, because when this was said, Taronda had to ask Jared, well, how do you feel about that? And he was very dismissive and said, well, it is what it is, more or less. I'm paraphrasing. Those weren't his exact words. And Charlie said, well, you know what? Clearly he doesn't give a, sugar honey iced tea. What did you guys think about that? Because there was a lot of, I felt like watching their body language and their faces, there was a lot of emotion and a lot of things going back and forth between those two during that conversation. What did you think, JR?
Yeah, I think that Jared hasn't really cared that much since finding out that she had 4 kids. So the reality is, he's not really phased by whatever she's got going on now. He's already decided that now she's here for short term and not for the long term. He's not interested in her seriously at all. But
Yeah.
this is someone that sends a lot of mixed messages and a lot of word salad and gibberish when he's talking to her. So, but I wasn't surprised that Jared didn't care. I was more surprised that Charlie and Brandon actually picked each other, because I would have never have seen that
Me
pairing
neither.
coming
I didn't
at
see
all.
that coming either.
No, not at all.
You guys out there in the chat, did you see that one coming? Because I missed that one. I didn't even see them flirting together. I do recall them in the kitchen making the waffles in the morning, but I took it as, platonic, two people working to help get breakfast out.
Just like you having yoga with Alicia.
Okay, so that's what you took it as too, or no?
What I did notice was that Charlie was looking and blushing, in Brandon's direction when she was, talking about this. And Brandon did have, his Kodak smile. Whether it's more than that, I don't know. I don't think, Brandon would go there, but I think he may think she's a very beautiful woman, and circumstances different. He may date her. Texas is certainly further than Atlanta, but Brandon will travel.
He sure will, 4 times even, and you don't even have to show up. 4 times he'll be there.
Right. But I just thought of something with Brandon, actually. Now, Brandon's whole thing was, okay, Kiki had a man the whole time and blah, 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 right? And one of his things, he said, he's been in this house and he hasn't made no advances towards anybody or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as we know, he's done yoga with Alicia, which could be considered inappropriate. And if he was making waffles with Charlie every day and they're bonding over it, getting closer to each other, then that's also a little bit of a how can I put it, provocative move to do, considering that's someone else's girl and he's there for Kiki. That should have been Kiki making breakfast with Brandon, not Charlie.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's an excellent point. But we never really saw Kiki and Brandon, because when it was their turn to cook, Kiki said she didn't feel up to it, but then she went outside and started doing something else, So
That's exactly my point. She made no effort in the couples, having to make the breakfast and the dinner for everybody. From what we saw, Brandon was game to do it, and Kiki was like, nah, she was just delegating. Okay, you guys do the scrambled eggs, I'll do the da-da-da. And then she just walked out and left everybody else to cook and clean up. So why did Charlie feel the need to step in and fill Kiki's position?
Good point. Elsie?
Yeah, it can be perceived that way. It can be, Brandon can be looked at as Mr. Steal Your Girl. But he could just be a very open, personable person that just, always jovial, smiling and laughing. But yes, sometimes the yoga can be an intimate setting, especially it's just the two of y'all. And yes, making breakfast, the waffles every morning together, can turn very flirty if they let it. But Charlie was a little too, I think, giddy over Jared. Jared and her were crack-a-lacking, and I would see her probably looking and thinking, but I don't think she would have, entertained Brandon. But I don't know. She also did a one-night stand and ended up having a kid out of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, you can't put anything past Charlie. Give her another drink or something, Brandon is fine. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. Brandon is fine to me. Okay, he's gorgeous, and not only is he gorgeous, but I like what we saw of his personality. I liked it. I thought he had a nice personality. I thought that he was a little harsh, but we're gonna come to that. So I'm gonna go off into him, but anyway, but I think he's very handsome though. So anything else we want to say about the game? I'm trying to see. I think I had another shot of what was the other question that was asked on the game during the game.
It just said it was who was hitting on someone else's partner after the house. That was it. That was the last question. What we just covered.
Okay. All right then. All right. So next up, we've got Cinco and Jay. Cinco and Jay, their part in the reunion was, of course, uh, very low key. Let them tell it. There were no arguments. But we heard that Cinco had to go early because why? He was going to a combine back in Atlanta, and he was possibly going to be picked up for an international basketball team. Um, we found out that Cinco did get to meet Jay's son and her rest of her family, and she said that her son adored him. We found out that Jay doesn't like to travel, so she won't be going to visit him if he gets picked up with the team over in Asia. And we also heard that Cinco was the one that visited every month and sent flowers twice a week to Jay, but I never heard anybody say that Jay flew down to Atlanta. JR, what were your thoughts about Cinco and Jay?
Well, it seems like he's making the moves to try and accommodate her because remember their only major fallout was the logistics, who's going to move to who and who's going to go where. So I like the fact that he's taken the position of, okay, since you've got the roots and your child and everything, he'll come and visit her. So yeah, he made an attempt and it's probably helped keep their relationship going as smoothly as it has been. But now with his international commitments, you know, they seem to have discussed that, and it does help that Jay does play basketball as well. So they may have a similar schedule, or at least you'll be familiar with how it works in
Right.
terms of his downtime. So, yeah, I like the fact that he's making that effort.
I like the fact that he's making that effort too, but I got another question for you, JR. Does it feel as if, from what we see on this edited show and from the reunion, does it feel as if Cinco is putting more effort and energy and consideration and thoughtfulness into this situation than Jay is reciprocating?
Mm.
Yeah, it could be the case. I mean, we haven't seen what she's been doing in terms of that, but she's also been able to accommodate him and host him. And introducing him to her son isn't something I think she would take lightly. So yeah, but he's definitely making the travel to see her and taking the time out to go and visit. So yeah, it could be seen that way.
El said, what do you think? Is Jay reciprocating Mr. Cinco's affections and his intentionality towards her?
Well, she braiding his hair and she cooking for him. You know, that to me is the least amount of the effort. The thing for me is that, yes, he is flying out and made the commitment, according to what she said. He's been flying out once a month for the past 5 months since the show stopped airing. He also has been sending her roses because he knows she loves the roses. He's a good communicator. Now he's going to try and get a contract for overseas. And when asked, this is where heavy lifting comes in a relationship. When asked if he gets a contract to play overseas, if she going, no. She ain't even getting on a plane to Atlanta. I expected no different than him if he got overseas. She couldn't even commit to say, well, I'll see him twice a year. You know, the teams usually let your family come visit you and pay for it twice a year. That is how much I can commit. My job won't let me, you know, work virtually internationally. At least she could have said that. She gives this man no hope that she would carry the heavy load in this, and I shouldn't say carry heavy load, extend herself just a little bit. Extend herself to say, hey, this is how he's making his money. It is basketball. I know basketball. I'm a coach too. She's not extending herself in this relationship to say, hey, I will support you. Wherever your career takes you, I will support you. It's a no. So it takes me in mind, okay? It takes me in mind of when Jay's son gets older, will she constrict his opportunities? Will he not be able to go far from home? I mean, it is giving me things of she can use this certainly to catapult and expose her son to different cultures, to travel. I don't understand what has got their hooks in her that she can't travel or uncomfortable traveling outside of Chicago.
Right, right. Um, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And you said exactly what I thought too, El Cid, is that she wasn't interested at this point, and they've been talking for 5 months. They got along famously. She said that they were so compatible. She did the compatibility test on the first night in the shower with him, and she said he got a gold star. But yet she says I never heard her say that she flew down to Atlanta. And like you said, when asked if she would be willing to visit him in Asia during his time off, she was like, "No, I don't like long airplane rides." So
Mhm.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, but wait a minute, but you in Chicago, you flew out to LA for the show. What's up?
Did
Mm.
she fly? Because there is a train that goes from Chicago all the way to LA. Did she fly?
Now that's true. Now you know what, and I know this because my godparents, and we're in Michigan, right? There is a train that goes all the way from Detroit, Michigan to California. You are absolutely right. They were in that sucker for days. So let me tell you that they were in there for days. They had their car. They had their own car with everything, the beds and all like that, and they had a wonderful time. But they're also retired though. So now
Right.
you're gonna take 3-4 days to get across the country when you could hop on a plane and be there what in about 3 hours?
But
Like
this is his profession. This is his dream. This is the part of the relationship you have to kind of support. He's not going out there traveling willy nilly, trying to be a passport bro. He is out here
nope.
moving and shaking and trying to support his family. All he needs is the support of his family. Why won't she commit to going to visit? Even if you don't like a long flight, I will, sacrifice and I will go and support him, is all she needed to say.
Mhm.
Right.
This
I
is the
didn't.
piece. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, JR. This is the piece that y'all say y'all want, right, JR?
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but she's tethered. That's what she's saying. She can't go nowhere. This child and his development and his ability to be comfortable where he is her main priority. Cinco is not her main priority. The child is.
I
So,
w- Maybe I'm different because my child, at the age of less than a year, he had a passport and he could move and shake. And sometimes my grandparents would go on cruises. I will hand them his passport and a letter from his parents that he is authorized to travel with them, and bring him back.
He's like a chance for free babysitting. I got a whole week off. I've been there, done that. Yeah, like I don't. I'm with you, El Cid. I don't understand, but and see, here's the thing. Let me just remove this. Here's the thing. She wants to tell us that. Hold on. Where did I go? Where did they go? Hold on, guys. Oh, I my board. Okay. She wants to tell us how intentional Cinco was when they met. He told her from the get go, "This is going to be my last rodeo. So if you're not serious, tell me now so I can move on." And, she kind of took it on the show, on the reunion. I kind of got that she took it a lot more lightly than she should have. What were your thoughts about that, JR?
yeah, could be. But um, yeah, I mean, the logistics just proved difficult for this couple. Um, like you said, she's not prepared to travel, but the good thing is he is. And if he does have downtime abroad, he is basically saying he's prepared to come back and spend time with her. So he's making all of that attempt. You're right. Um, but I also can see why having a child, it's not there's no rule book to parenting, and one family might be happy with traveling extensively or relocating or whatever. She's just not comfortable to do that at this time. Maybe as their relationship progresses, then that might change. But it's still very early for them. You know? So I can kind of see it both ways.
Yeah, well, you know what? And Cinco did say that she always starts an answer with a no. And then it sounded like he didn't continue on or they edited it out, but it sounded like the next thing might have been something like, but I'm able to convince her to a yes. But I just wonder if that goes on long term and that's the dynamic in their relationship, won't you get tired of that, Cinco?
Yeah,
Would
you will.
Would you get tired of that? Like always having to convince your girl that, you know, can she please come visit you? Okay, will you please say yes to my marriage proposal? Like, I don't know. To me, that would get tiring. It's almost like kind of like the dynamics going on between Ty and Brittany.
I was about to say that it is certainly sounding like a Ty and Brittany situation where he's putting forth, a whole lot of the effort. In other things, we know she isn't as bad as Brittany. We know that. Don't anybody come for us with that. But it's certainly given that he is putting forth a lot of effort, and she's not extending herself that way. Now, what we did learn, as Chicago Girl and I going back and forth, I guess she saw the live on IG. We did learn after the reunion from Jay that Cinco did not get a contract to play international.
Right.
Ah, right. Okay, I think I had heard that. Thank you for that. He did not? Oh, wow. Oh,
I was
no.
so sad for him. I was excited for him to get that contract, but
Yeah, me too. Me too.
there's always another contract coming.
There is.
Right.
There is.
But
Yeah.
I don't think she was disappointed because now he gets to stay more local and she don't have to travel long distance. He
But
can keep traveling to her.
okay, but JR, but is she gonna at least go visit him in Atlanta? Take your child with you. You said that the
Hopefully.
boy adores him. So like what's so hard about you flying from from Chicago to Atlanta?
I mean, hopefully she does do that.
Or train, Jay.
Or train. Yeah.
Do what you want. If you're afraid of heights or planes, like okay, I get it. Some people are. I love flying, by the way, but that's
Yeah,
not.
there's planes, trains, and automobiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully she does decide to go visit him and it's not so one-sided. But for now, he's happy doing it. And if he didn't get the contract, then she must have breathed a sigh of relief because now they can continue to do what they have been doing, which is him traveling to her and sending her flowers and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. And her being
And
spoiled.
I guarantee if he got a contract like a 10-day with an NBA or G League team or anything like that, he ain't going up. Because a lot of basketball players use the ability to go abroad to get back into a more professional team in the US. It's very rare that players go over to Europe or elsewhere and think that's where I'm going to stay for the majority of my career. It's very competitive in the US to go through the college, university, and pro system. So another way in is to excel in Europe, and hopefully scouts take notice and draft you from that team, from that
But yeah,
European.
that makes sense. But how often, and you're more of a basketball fan than I am now currently, but in the professional leagues here in the NBA, how often does that actually happen? Or maybe they're going to play for the big three? Oh, is that Ice Cube's?
Yeah,
No, I'm
yeah, that's
serious
more.
because I know a few basketball professional retired professional basketball players, NBA championship rings, the whole 9 yards, and none of them really did that pathway that you're discussing, which I understand that could be a pathway, but how many people ever do that?
No, but that pathway wasn't as available in years before. Now
Okay,
there's an influx of European talent into the NBA. Last
that
few MVPs have been from outside the US.
now, well, wait a minute. You brought up because I know this. I agree. You brought up a point. I know a lot of them they have recruited have been from Europe, but they're from
And Canada.
Europe.
And Canada too. So yeah, there is an extensive program to recruit from overseas into professional NBA.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, Aubrey. Okay. Y-
Hear me now?
yes,
Yeah,
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you
you.
now.
Yeah, sorry about that. My mic came out and it goes to mute like as El Cid has told me time before. I have to remember to go over here on the board and unmute it. But yeah, that I know that, and I think that's interesting. But those are European players. Those are not. We're not seeing U.S. players that were born and raised in the United States going overseas to Europe and then coming back over here to the NBA. Are we?
Well, like I said, it doesn't happen so much like a decade ago, but there's more chance of it now
Okay,
because, as I say, the NBA is very competitive. Like if
very.
you just stay in the US, you know, there's a lot of players that have better jumping ability, better scoring ability, and all the rest of it. They largely looked at Europe and outside of the States as not being developed enough. So one of the things that you can do if you aren't good enough to play pro leagues from an early stage is go and shine elsewhere. Get a name for yourself, get more backing, get bigger contracts or whatever. And then hopefully players like Mike Smith, for example, I think it was, like he's one of the players that played in Europe for a while, but brought in by the Brooklyn Nets for a
Okay.
season or two. Did a lot of scoring, but he only stayed for one season and he's back out in Europe again. But it does happen. It does happen.
Okay. Okay. So you know what you're saying it nowadays because I'm from the old school, like the bad boy days. Okay. Anybody
Yeah.
from Detroit, y'all know when you know what I'm talking about when the bad boys, right?
Oh heck yeah.
Isaiah,
Yeah.
Zeke,
Mhm.
Joe Dumars,
Duma.
Yeah.
Mm,
Dennis Rodman, John
Dennis
yep.
Sally.
Rodman. Thank you, James
Yeah.
Edwards.
Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah
Yeah.
Thomas. That's Zeke. Yep.
Bill Lambier,
Yep. Oh, yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
thank you.
Rick
Yeah, Bill
Mahorn.
Levitt. Rick Mahorn, my boy, personal friend. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's the era that I'm coming from. So I see what you're saying that it could be that you could utilize that way. So I
Mhm.
think that's very interesting. Um, so the last thing I want to say, if you got anybody have anything else to say about Cinco and Jay, I have one last thing too, and
He,
that was oh, go ahead,
I
man.
got one thing to say. He just sounds as happy as Irwin in his relationship.
Who does? You saying Cinco does?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm
he
happy. I'm real happy. I mean that's how he sounded.
Mm. Well, you know what? And he could be so happy. I'm sure his DMs are full right now cuz like everybody, a lot of people that I've talked to, they see it. Like he seems to be a good guy. You got a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. But she just like so dismissive of it like, okay, I understand your child being important and being a priority. That's fine, but does it do you ever look at it and say if you're serious about it that were you serious about the relationship because if you are you're going to have to make some changes and some sacrifices if you're serious about being with Cinco. That's it.
And it's not look at it as sacrifices. It can be looked at as new adventures.
I
And
like that.
I wonder if Jay has never traveled for basketball herself. Because I understand, a new mother and so forth, but I traveled with and JR did say we're all different. I traveled when my son was 8 months old, and it was right after 9/11.
Hmm. Oh wow.
It was 3 months after 9/11. So again, I having a kid and my children never stopped or paused me from traveling because I want them to experience the world. And
Yeah.
I wonder with Jay what is causing her to be, to me it looks like stagnant. It's like Chicago or bust. I can't leave
Yeah.
Chicago, I can't go outside of Chicago. I wonder too, I would ask her, was this the first time she was separated from her son while doing this
Oh,
show?
okay. Okay. That's well she I mean, I'm sure and I'm going to say this. I'm sure she missed her son. That was important to her. I'm thinking maybe I don't know exactly how old her son is. They did maybe FaceTimes or things like that. But my thing is, why did you start talking to Cinco? You knew he lived in another state. You knew that he was an international ball player. So what was the freaking point in talking to this man for 5 months?
A check.
Oh, okay. 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 Miss Wilson said, good point. And they agree with you, Elsie. Yeah, I guess so. Because I thought, I mean, maybe it's me, because some of these couples I feel like could be fake, Kiki and Brandon. But I felt like Jay and Cinco, I felt like Cinco really had some feelings for Jay. Maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like there were some parts of this that was genuine, but it's not, it doesn't seem like it's going to work.
Yeah,
Not if you get that contract.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what about if she gets a contract to go play somewhere else? Go and coach somewhere else. You know?
I was just about to say, I thought she was in the coaching phase of her career right
Yeah.
now.
So exactly. So what happens if she gets offered a contract by another team somewhere else? Will she be comfortable traveling then? And then if you're not prepared to travel to go with your guy, but you're prepared to travel to work, what does that look like?
What if you get a contract to be a coach on one of these women's basketball teams on a prestigious college? Are you going to say no? You can't go?
Exactly. Or maybe she's hoping for Chicago Sky, one of those type of teams. But yeah, I think part of the basketball coaching and player profession means you may be traded at any time, or you may be offered contracts all over the place, and you just have to be prepared to travel in order to have a career.
And what I would warn against too is, if you are, I'm not saying not to be so wrapped up, but if you're so wrapped up with your child at this stage, and we learned he was 4 during the show, what happens when he's older and you're an empty nester? Do you have a life outside of that?
Right. And also, I think you have to weigh up, which she probably has, but raising a child in Atlanta compared to raising a child in Chicago. So not just the weather and the adverse conditions that you experience in Chicago, but is there better prospects for the child in Atlanta, like education-wise or career-wise, than there are in Chicago at the moment?
That's interesting. That's interesting. Wow. The educational aspect and the higher education opportunities and even the career opportunities. That's a very interesting question. What would you say? I mean, just your guess, because you're in that area, I believe, Elsie.
I would say for her career, she is a coach. I would say there are a lot of high school women's basketball teams in several counties around Atlanta. There's also, of course, Georgia Tech, which is one of the very prestigious colleges and universities in Georgia. They do have a wonderful women's basketball team. Plus, there is the WNBA team in Atlanta. So her prospects are good here as well. And there are several private schools if she wishes to send her son to private school here as well. But, I just was disappointed in the 5 months that she didn't make, or we didn't hear that she made one trip to Atlanta, even if it's just her.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it was just a holiday weekend, a long week, extended weekend.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that. So
Exactly. And you know what? Like, if she could take the time out to come on the show for 2 weeks, then surely she should be able to get a week away to go and spend time with Cinco as well.
Right. So it's pointing to what it feels like to me, and this is just what it feels like to me, in my opinion. It's pointing to her not really being serious, is what I get out of it. So wrapping this couple up, what I will say, the last thing I will say is that I love the way Cinco gave her a kiss on his way out, a very loving, sweet kiss. I feel like some men would not have thought of that. Some men would not have wanted the other women out in the audience. And I don't mean, there, but I mean like out in the broader audience to really see that. So I thought that was a very sweet, thoughtful thing. Did you have any thoughts about it that you wanted to add, Elsie?
I wanted to know why production put it in there when we needed more time for other segments. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It could have been edited out. We know they're together. We know they still, love and like each other. I could have taken a few more seconds with some other folks, especially, Chris and Clay going at it. I don't like that. But yes, it is a sweet gesture. I'm not going to be Jay in this moment. It was a sweet gesture. And he acknowledged his woman before he is leaving and taking that ride. And it's unfortunate he did not, earn that contract.
Yeah, it is. JR, anything else you want to add to this couple before we move on to Chris and Alexis?
Not really. I mean, it was courtesy. Like, it was something that I would have expected him to do by saying goodbye to her or whatever. Especially if it wasn't performative, like staged, then it's all good. Like, he had to leave early, jump on a plane and fly somewhere, and that was their last time together until he gets out. Take it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go into Chris and Alexis. Chris and Alexis came in. They got their relationship started over a D pic, an eggplant pic, whatever you want to call it. It was a pic of his privates, right? And I guess it stimulated enough interest in her to start talking to him online, and that's how it all started. So, how do you think it ended? Because it did end. They ended up breaking up, and they said that it was mutual. What did you think about that, JR?
Yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't work. I was surprised they actually said yes and left together. I didn't see how she went from she's not getting what she came for to now believing that something's going to change once they get home. And for me, it seemed like Chris was just determined to not get eliminated, just make it through to the end to make amends for his exit on Ready to Love when he was on there. So I think it was very performative on Chris's part to try and, make it seem like they were going to leave together and build on their connection. But in reality, she has been waiting for this peen to be delivered and served, and he was making all kinds of excuses why not to do it. So I don't know if that was the right or wrong approach, but I just feel like he was deliberately holding back because he wasn't feeling that.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it. One of the things that Alexis said is that, when I got home and I decompressed and I looked at it, she said, I don't want the man that says that I trigger him all the time. I don't want to be with that guy. What did you think about that, Elsid?
Chris was conveniently triggered because he turned around and was trying to be controlling to her. My thing with Chris is, again, the mixed messages. They should have called it the Never Ever Mixed Messages, because he said he didn't like to be viewed, or he didn't want to be viewed as a piece of meat. But sir, you are sending your meat in messages. So how else am I supposed to view you?
Hollered.
I'm sorry. And we need a definition of what they did, because she said it ain't the kind that she wanted. He's like, she got what she came for. Kiki said she saw something. I'm like, what the heck? He's saying it faded out. She's like, yeah, she just ended things. It's like Chris just wanted not to get a bad edit. I'm sorry. But the way you start, you know how we tell women the way you start a relationship is the way the relationship can go along? Well, yeah. He started with a piece of meat, and thus he was treated as such. It was, he put it in this direction.
I definitely agree with that. But again, Chris, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So he may not have realized.
Respectfully.
He may not have realized the consequence of sending that D pic. Now that is how she's going to view him. She's an older lady. She probably wants a younger, more virile guy than what she's used to having, and she expected to be, she expected a delivery, and
not a delivery.
Yeah,
his package was up to par.
Exactly. Apparently, his package was up to standard, but he just didn't want to make the delivery. And she's waiting to unwrap that package. at any time. So yeah, for me, I just don't think he was into her. He seems to be more into Tati than he does his own the girl Alexis.
Right, right. And to which Alexa said, you know what? I feel like you guys have been talking already. She said, I feel like you guys have been talking. He said, what do you mean? She said, I just got a feeling. And he was like, nah, that's not true. That's not true. Did you buy what he was saying, Elsie?
No, I didn't buy it. I'm like Clay. I could see the look from the back of your head because the way she has her female intuition, Tatiana did not deny it. He may deny it to her face, but Tatiana didn't. But I wouldn't put it past Alexis if she ain't got the password to the phone and she ain't looked and seen that there have been messages. And if he did say he part of her roster, then she would know that they are talking. So again, it's I wouldn't say it's blatant disrespect, but you tell this woman you wanted to go, and leave together and try to be with try something together. And now here we are, but I don't like the word salad. First of all, his accent is gone. Where is the duh accent that we heard all season? It is gone from the reunion. And that I side-eye Chris at first. And I knew he was playing in our face with just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just seems like well, you know what? We saw him. He was with Maya allegedly a couple seasons ago with RTL with Ready to Love. Then he jumped over here to Alexis. I think it wouldn't be fair if we got off without talking while we're talking about them to not mention that there has been a rumor online in social media and through messages I've gotten from other bloggers that there's been some insinuation that Chris might like guys, romantically speaking, right? Allegedly. Do you guys want to say anything about that, JR?
Well, he did make a slip up on the stage actually when they're talking about the eggplant pic. He said, "Yeah, she said she never sent me no eggplant pic," and I was like, "Why would she send you an eggplant pic? She doesn't have an eggplant pic." And they pulled him up on it, and he had to correct himself. So that was a slip up. But I don't know. He just came across as, I don't know if he's deliberately playing silly or playing aloof, but yeah, I noticed the accent wasn't as thick as it was before. Maybe he's trying to polish up. The suit made him come out his show and try and be more articulate.
I don't know.
But Chris seemed to be very performative to try and
that's the part. That's the part. I feel like you just said it. I feel like even from his Ready to Love days and even just being his buddy over on IG, like he's always going live talking about absolutely nothing. So I got to the point where I just turned it off. Like, look, dude, I don't want to see your lives because you're never talking about nothing. And when I say nothing, it don't have to be about reality TV. It could be about, inspirational stuff, something funny happened to him, whatever, but it's just never about something. It's like he wants a lot of attention.
Yeah.
What do you think, El said? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, JR.
I was just going to say, quickly. I think, again, it's no coincidence that Alexis felt that him and Tati are talking. Faye thinks that him and Tati are talking. He's admitted to being on Tatiana's roster, even though it was quietly said. And they chose each other as the person they would like to be with if they weren't with their current partners. So those things point to me as if, to say that Chris and Tatia definitely are doing something. And also, look at the end. When they ended, who was the first person that Chris went over to say goodbye to? He went over to Tatiana and said goodbye to her. You look nice. See you around. Yeah, very performative. We know they're hooking up.
Okay. Yeah. Elsie, any thoughts? If you don't have any.
Yeah, Chris is just acting like he's waiting to be discovered by, the next great Tubi movie director. That's what, he keeps on performing and putting on a show, and some of us ain't buying the show. And Alexis, I'm sorry that she felt disappointed. She's at the prime of her life. Yes, she may need a younger man to keep up with her, and she has been consistent. She has told Chris this is what she wanted. You sent me the meat pick. I wish to sample the goods. She has told him that. Now, has he shut it down? No, he didn't completely shut it down. What he shut down is her gossiping and getting into other people's business, but he did not shut down, telling her that, hey, his goodies stay in the jar. We didn't see that. If that happened, we didn't see that. And it seemed like she was strung along, and he was like, oh, well, if she got what she wanted, she would go straight to the girls and be talking. And that to me gives me, and I don't know, Chris, it gives me the thought of a man that may have a performance issue and don't want the other ladies to know. That's all I'm thinking.
Mm. And also, what was telling is that when they tried to delve deeper on how intimate they actually had become on the show, there was like, he was kind of saying, yeah, we were intimate, weren't we? And she was like, no, they didn't go the whole way. They did other forms.
Right. She's like, not that wasn't the kind she wanted. She
Exactly.
looked at the menu and that wasn't what she wanted to order off the menu.
That was not the dish of the day. Exactly. What did they actually get up to? If it wasn't the full way, was there partial? Was there first base, second base, third base? Whatever Kiki saw when she interrupted them, you know, that would have cleared up what it was or what they were doing. So I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know, but I think it's interesting. Just last thing on this rumored gay issue. It's funny though that it ended up being Alexis who was the one that said that she liked to watch gay porn, and when they asked her, lesbians or men, and she said, no, why would I want to watch lesbians? Why would I want to watch another woman? I like the men. It's
Right.
interesting that she was the one that said that. I felt like, not saying it's true, but if maybe she felt there was a reason why he was rejecting her, and that's the only thing that she could come up with in her mind, it just seemed like throughout the last couple of episodes, she kind of said things that made you look at Chris and go, hmm.
She said she ain't never had to work this hard to get none before.
She did.
A-
She did say that.
And maybe there's a correlation between her like to watch what she watches in terms of corn and why she chose Chris as well. Like she may have thought he may be a little bit fruity and is open to some of those type of practices.
Yeah, I don't know. He said that that sex was not a thing for him. He just doesn't want to feel like a piece of meat. I don't know. I don't know too many young men his age that are healthy that are saying that the hot and heavy time is not a thing for them. But
Yeah,
who knows?
I definitely don't understand that because, as I said before, if you're in a relationship with someone, then that intimacy piece is a crucial part of your relationship. You don't want the person to go outside. So why not provide it to the person that you're with?
Yeah, that's true. It's like, but it's like kind of like El Cid said earlier in the show. She said, you know what? Definitions. You got to find out what people's definitions are of a thing, and everybody's definition of relationship, including the physicality of it, the frequency of it, it's not going to be the same. Because here's the guy that said that he only watches corn twice a week, if you can believe that. El
I
Cid?
think
Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jr.
I think he was speaking about averages.
Okay. El Cid, you
Mm.
anything else?
Yeah, well, he can only watch twice a week. I want to know how many photos is he taking and how many photos of himself he distributing across the net. That would be the question I would have. Like, is Alexis the only lady that you have shared this photograph of your delicacies?
Elegant, excellent point. Excellent point there. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just so much. It's so much confusion on this. There's so many things that weren't questions that weren't asked and answered. When we come to our next couple, second to last, we've got Brandon and we've got Kiki. Um, Now, Kiki really seemed to be there for a true vacay. She was there just a holiday and to lounge around, not do no cooking, uh, not in the beginning, not do too much touching of Brandon, and not tell too much of the truth. Whereas Brandon seemed like, even though he was a little overly assertive on the Kiki not drinking part, he still seemed to really like Kiki, care about Kiki, and be attracted to Kiki. What were your thoughts about that, El Cid?
Yeah, I think Brandon sounded like he was, genuine. He said maybe he did overreact on the drinking. And I think, when I was looking at the reunion and thinking about it, for Brandon, I know it was triggering for his childhood, but you know what I could also say for someone, any of the people on the stages, if you're drinking too much and you're inebriated, how much consent can you give? Because remember, Brandon also wanted, to hold and have, more touch. But if you're intoxicated, how much consent can I truly believe you're giving?
Very true. And that's a very slippery slope and a dangerous position to be in if you're Brandon, because I would also give him credit for not making any advances on Kiki if that was the case and she was inebriated. Um, I don't think they matched. I think this could have definitely been one of the fake relationships because Kiki didn't even consider it to be a relationship in her explanation to him about why she was with her ex at the same time as him. She kind of intimated, well, I'm sure you were dating other people as well. So that means she kind of was saying, nah, we weren't exclusive. We were talking for 4.5 years, but I was in a relationship. So, you know, um, more double talk. It's like, what is it? What type of relationship did you have? He was under the illusion that it's a faithful, committed relationship and he was waiting for you and put your ghosting down to you possibly being anxious, maybe your body type, maybe a bit of insecurity or whatever. He gave
Hmm.
her grace for that. But
But he told her, JR, that having somebody else was a deal breaker. So she
yeah,
knew she had already violated one of his boundaries.
absolutely. And that's why she was so hesitant to tell him the secret too, I think. And that's also why I think she was drinking so much to mask her nervousness about telling him the secret.
Now, you know what? That's a very good point, JR. She very well could have been, because she did seem to be uneasy even at the very beginning, and Brandon kept asking her, what is it, and I think it had to be tied to her conscience. It had to be tied to the fact that she had this huge secret that she had lied about and never told him in the 4 years that she was dealing with him, that she was living with a fiance, right?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, Kiki, she said it best when she said, I came for the vacation. I think she told on herself, just like Jared told on himself several times throughout the season. Kiki told on herself when she said, I came for a vacation. I
Right,
think that's all that she was thinking about.
right. So again, if they had never offered the opportunity for her to travel to meet him, obviously get paid while you're doing so, unlimited alcohol, would she have been inclined to met him? Probably not. She probably would have
Ooh,
sung him along.
ooh, I hadn't looked at it that way. That's a good point. Would she have wanted to do all these things with him? Would she wanted to meet with him? Well, yeah, because he actually came to her town 4 times, right? We find out, and she never,
Exactly.
and she never, even though he came to her town 4 times, she never actually physically met with him. Now, why
No,
he took it beyond once or twice, I really quite don't understand, especially looking like Brandon looks. Like, why are you coming a third and fourth time?
I would give him out. The only grace I would give him is if he was in town for something else a few of those times and asked to see her. That's the only
Oh,
grace. But if
okay,
you
yeah.
only come in to see her and it's 4 times, yeah, Brandon, you delusional. I'm gonna need you to wake up.
yeah, but I'd also give him this as well. Maybe she was stringing him along by because she hadn't told him that she was in a relationship. And that is what she used as the main reason why she stood him up. He said, she was in a relationship at the time. So that's why she couldn't have met him.
Yeah, that could have been. That could have been. But listen to this. Think about this guy. Do we all remember when earlier in this season the producer stopped on a confessional and asked her, "Are you still in love with your ex?" And she never gave an answer.
Why would you ask me that?
Hmm. Why indeed? Why?
Mm-mm-mm.
JR, you want to offer any thoughts on the question about is she still in love with her ex?
Well, the fact that she wasn't able to answer that with a direct no means that she still has feelings for the ex. And that is another reason why it's better that Brandon saw it for what it was when the confession was revealed and then decided to go his own way, because even at that point, she still had feelings for the ex. So he did the right thing by getting out of there, and that was his deal breaker, and there's nothing she could do to change that. Rightly so.
Elsie?
Yeah, she said she wasn't ready to end things with her ex. That's what she said, and I could understand if you don't want to end things with your ex, but you don't end things with your ex to go over to Brandon. You end things with your ex if that relationship is no longer serving you. So, I don't think she should put Brandon into that equation. But Brandon, is like that was a deal breaker, you dealing with somebody else. So she already knew she couldn't really break things off with X. Maybe as she said, they were, cohabitating. But hey, Brandon didn't want to deal with someone who had another relationship in a way, because technically Brandon is the other man.
Right.
The side piece.
That makes him the side piece.
Yes. Yes,
Yep.
he's a side piece. He's a handsome side piece, but he a side.
He's a side. He's not the entree, not the main thing, the protein and all that, the peen, but he's the side.
Right.
But wait a minute. Did we ever really find out who's to say that Brandon didn't have someone? So for 4 years, he says that they were busy. For 4 years, he claims that he never was dating anyone else, sleeping with anyone else. Are
No,
you
he said
buying?
he wasn't in a relationship.
Okay. Good. My bad. He wasn't in a relationship.
Now, if he
Are
was
you?
dipping and dabbing into somebody or somebody's, he just didn't have he was not in a committed relationship like she was.
Okay. Okay. So that makes it a little different. JR, what do you think
Yeah,
about that? What do you think
that
about that?
makes it that makes a huge difference. Kiki was living with and going to sleep with and waking up and having breakfast and dinner and arguments and breakup type situations with someone already. So yeah, if Brandon was in a situation, well, in fact, he said he wasn't doing anything. So I can only believe what he said, but there was no evidence to prove otherwise. It's all speculation. He said no, he didn't do anything. But it's still not as bad as having a relationship for 8 years, and then having Brandon as your side for 4 years. There's no excuse for that, and I don't think whether Brandon was seeing anyone or not equates to what Kiki's secret was. At least he doesn't have any side babies or like Jared
No,
or Clay.
yeah, no side babies. That's the good part. He's a reasonable, rational man that's not making little side babies or anything like that. Anything else you want to contribute to the whole? Elsie? What did you think about when Kiki said that basically he was her best friend and that they needed to be friends first before they could be lovers? What did you think about that? Was she serious?
I understand that. I could see that for any lady that you want to have a certain rapport with the person. But I'm at least meet up with my best friend when they come to town.
Right,
Exactly.
I'm at
right.
least let my best friend, know that I'm getting out of a situation. Alexis did say, how do you keep secrets alive from your best friend? She did say in a live that was cut and spliced into the wrong section. She actually meant that for Charlie and Jared.
Oh,
But it's like, how do you equate me to being your best friend, and you kept your whole man, your whole fiance, from me.
Mm, very true.
and
Kept the whole.
allow me to come 4 times to see you. Go
Yeah,
ahead, JR.
that's that. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it. You kept the man a secret. You ghosted him 4 times. So, what kind of best friend is that? If that's how you treat your best friend, then that's also a concern as far as Kiki goes. Is with your best friend, you're probably going to give more transparency and more vulnerability and honesty because they're your bestie.
Right,
So, yeah,
right. That was interesting. So we hear that. So it's interesting. I'll come back to that. So the last couple guys, who they had to save for last. It had to be Jared and Charlie. Jared and Charlie. So oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Jared and Charlie. So uh, what did you guys think when Jared basically his dismissive tone toward Charlie? Charlie still seemed to be as if she was confused. What was the confusion for Charlie? What do you think, Jr.? What was her confusion? Because to me, it was very clear he didn't want her.
yeah. I think the confusing thing is, on the one hand, he's saying, "Look, I don't see a future, and I don't want to be with you," but on the other hand, you're my best friend, and I want to crack the cheeks, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. So that to me sounds like friends with benefits is what he's looking for, and she's
Yeah,
confused because she's thinking it's either a relationship or nothing. And he's like, "No, we can do a bit of both. We can be kind of in a gray area where we still keep in context and still tap cheeks and things."
yeah, we can do that. That's what everybody else is doing. Psych.
Mhm.
El Cid, what did you think about this whole best friends idea? I'm sorry, not Charlie and Charlie and Jared. I'm sorry.
It kind of like reminded me of, someone who just wants to be loved so bad that they have blinders on. Like when race horses, you see they have blinders so they can't see left or right, they only see straight ahead. But
Hmm.
Charlie wasn't seeing what was straight ahead. Jared told her the very first night, I don't think I can do this. He
He
told
did.
her.
He
When they
did.
revealed their secrets, he's like, I don't think. And she hushed him and told him, I just need you to try. You need to try. And he just was like, okay, we're going to try this. And I'm going to sample everything on the menu and just try it out.
Yeah, and that's what he said on the stage too. He said that because she was like, "How can you do that?" And he was like, "Listen, I did try. Right? The moment I heard your secret, me giving it a second thought is me trying." That's what his answer was.
Mm. Why is Charlie always being confused by him? Why is she not understanding that ambiguousness or indifference is a no? Um, like we found out about Charlie, and this is again through social media and whatnot, that Charlie had been married, which is something that we didn't see. We never saw that. She never talked about it. People probably would have looked at the 4 kids a little differently in her situation. We saw that on social media and through another reality TV show that she was on. She also has struggled with how do you pronounce this? Hirsutism, guys.
Her suit, her suitism.
Her,
Yeah,
her. So I said it
basically,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, she grows facial hair, grows a
Hmm.
beard, due to uh, a hormonal condition. So, um, but I think there is an overlap somewhere because from that social media clip where she was on that show,
Hmm.
it
We.
was dated 2022, and the ex-husband was there with two of the kids in the
Hmm.
in the in the pictures. Now
Okay.
she's been talking to Jared for 4.5 years. So if my maths are mathing, we're in 2025. That show was 2022. Uh, this
And
show, Never Ever Met, was probably filmed in 2024.
four, yes.
So if she's been speaking to Jared for 4 years
Four and
since
a half.
2024, 4.5, then that takes it back to 2020.
Hmm.
So if she's been speaking to him since 2020, but she's on a show with her husband at the time in 2022, yo, that means there's an overlap somewhere.
Yeah, there's an overlap. With her situation with the beard that she was growing through no fault of her own, but through hormones. It seemed like that show they were able to resolve the beard because I never noticed that or saw that. I don't know if you guys did, but the hair thinning. As we're looking at this picture, I can clearly see where the weave starts right here, and where the top hair is very, very thin, very thin.
Don't forget, hormones and postpartum. Her body has gone through changes, and
Oh,
as we
absolutely, you're right,
so
absolutely.
that definitely could play a part in it. But yeah, I'm agreeing with JR that if that show was filmed in, let's say, 2021, and this show was filmed in 2024, there was overlap between the ex-husband and Jared, especially speaking to, and so that lends me to believe. I want timelines. It's like, when exactly did we get this tattoo of Jared? Will we freshly divorced?
Or
Yeah.
were you still with the husband and got the tattoo with Jared?
That would be madness, sheer madness. Oh, by the
Exactly.
way, guys, for those of you, Chicago Girl has it. I have it on the screen. She's letting you know that it's the network is TLC. The name of the show is Bad Hair Day.
Right.
We get to see Charlie's then husband. I don't recall if they said his name or not. Very handsome, dark complexion black man. We got to see two of her children that she had at that point in time, and they look to be um, from the both of them. I don't know if they had maybe the baby, another baby, the third child later on, right? We don't, I don't know.
I think
But
the oldest child wasn't in the photo.
oh, is that okay? So those two are theirs, and then there's okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Right.
But in any
So,
case, the family was a good looking family. It was very,
right.
very cute family.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, then it could be that the oldest child is from a different father, and the two in the picture with the husband are his children, and then she had a one night stand between the overlap between Jared, the side piece, and the husband. She also had a one night stand and produced a child. So
Well,
again,
so that
timelines are
made
crazy.
the timeline is crazy, and Jared does appear to be that he at some point he was the side piece. Miss Wilson brings up an excellent point. Maybe the husband ended up being, but no, because she said she didn't know the person, so he wasn't the
Yeah,
one to stand. She said she did not know
exactly.
this guy at all.
Hmm. Right. And that was based off her intuition that Jared was doing something with someone else. So she decided to go out and do something random with someone else, and it ended up producing a child.
Elle said,
Well, what she did wasn't random, but who she did it with was. But
"Yeah, no,
but but I mean, what I didn't appreciate with Charlie and Jared is that Charlie knew she wasn't going to leave Texas. Why are you entertaining? Just like we talked about with Jay, why are you entertaining a man outside of the state if you're not willing to entertain leaving the state?
yeah,
And I understand you cannot leave because your children and their, non-custodial parent is probably in Texas with visitation rights. I understand that. So how is it Jared don't understand that, if this relationship continues, he would have to move to Texas?
Exactly. He was saying he would have been able to convince her to bring her one child that he knew about to where he lives. I'm
hmm
not so sure that that would have been the case. I don't think he was interested in her like that to even want her to move. But,
oh,
he did actually say that from the moment he heard her secret, then that was off the table anyway.
yeah, yeah. He didn't want to be bothered with no four children, and the thing about it is, Charlie didn't seem to understand because she kept saying, "Well, you know what? I don't even get child support." Which I don't understand, but that's another story. I don't even get child support. I do everything. I make a great living and I take care of my kids. I don't need a man for my kids. They already have a father. But my thought on that is I don't like when women say that and they're talking about living with the man. I'm assuming at some point you guys are going to get married, maybe, right? Make a real commitment. If you're going to be living with the person, how can you say you don't need a man? Like, true, the children may not need him as their father, but the fact that they're living in his household with him, he will be a father figure. So yes, you do need a man. So quit saying that. Why are women saying that? That's crazy to me.
Agreed. Agreed. It's you're acting like he's not an adult that will be in the household who will also have responsibility for the kids. I mean, you have four children. They have different activities with school. They go to probably different schools. You may need him. Hey, could you go pick them up? I can't leave to go pick them up from school. They may be sick from school. You will need. He is a support system. So
Absolutely.
stop
Absolutely.
saying you don't need you're like, okay, you don't need him financially to carry the weight. And let me just say, Texas is a cap state. That's why Deion Sanders also stayed there. They cap child support at a ridiculous amount, like $300 per child. It's a cap state.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I did
That's
not know
why
that.
she probably saying she ain't getting no support. She probably is, but it ain't no kind of support considering, rent prices. But she
Wow.
shouldn't say that. You should be wary of any man coming in there to live with you and your kids and want nothing to do with your kids. That
Yeah.
to me is wild.
That's very wow. You do need a man. And
And
you just saying that, you saying I only need him for myself, then how selfish are you as related to your own children? You only need them for yourself, but the kids don't need the person that they're living in the house with every day of the week. They don't need him to care about them. They don't need him to pour love into them and teach them things. That's ridiculous, Charlie. That is absolutely ridiculous.
very ridiculous. And also, I would have thought that if she isn't receiving child support, then she may not be the custodian of the two that she has with the husband, or three or whatever. If he has more, if they live with him, then
Mhm.
she wouldn't be getting child support. She'll be
That,
required to pay towards the child support.
that's a good point. We don't know
Great
what
point. That could
really
be why
for.
she is able to hide them in quotation marks from Jared whenever he calls and she communicates with him.
Exactly, they don't live with her. But the baby, she's the one. The baby's the one that she's been talking about. She needs to get back to. Right? So she's obviously pumping milk because the baby's still with her.
Yeah,
At the
the
end of
baby
the day,
has to.
it's a very messy situation. So for her to expect Jared to automatically, that's a lot for anyone, even if it is Jared. It's a lot.
Yeah, but does anybody think that Jared may have commitment issues?
Definitely. He admitted that much. He said he doesn't even believe in monogamy. So that means he's got an issue with commitment. He quite openly would, as soon as he gets fed up, he'll leave. That's what he did in his previous marriage. He said he got bored and he left. So
He said he got bored easily, and I'm thinking that he was bored with Charlie after these 3 weeks because he doesn't seem to be like a man who is there, thoroughly entertained.
No, he doesn't.
He was just checking her box like she wanted, and it's like Alexis brought up a great, like what box is he checking? But also, Jared said he felt like he treated Charlie like a queen. Now, that I didn't understand.
Mm. Yeah, he did some what JR might call some word salad on that. There was some word salad going on there, and you gotta peep Jared's game. Now you'll be interested in this. So I went over to his social media on IG, and I see a lot of pictures and a lot of stuff with the mom. Like he is giving off serious mama boy vibes, which is interesting. So like this mama boy, and apparently the mother, she's very beautiful, very youthful looking, very good looking lady. Could have thought it was a cougar for a minute until I saw the what he had written underneath it. And apparently his mother is also a doctor, so she's very well educated. So I wonder how this plays into how Jared views women that he dates.
Well, he did say his child's mother is very well established in her career, and he can't leave, leave the state and leave that. So maybe because, as you said, his mother is quite established in her career, he, sought or seeks women of that caliber.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very well put together, and it does show that he's also a college graduate. Which, when I first started watching this season, I wasn't quite sure what his occupation was, or if he seemed like someone that maybe had attended college. I didn't really get that from him, but seeing that mom is all over, and of course, they may have scrubbed. I'm sure he scrubbed the IG because of the show, but I just thought it was a overwhelming number of videos and pictures with the mom. I definitely got that feeling of Mama's Boy, which is interesting because El Cid and I on Tuesdays afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we cover the show Somebody's Son.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yep. So some people are saying that Jared may be delusional. Delusional in what sense, Miss Wilson? I don't know that he's delusional. I think he's very much understanding that he's a good looking man, and that for a certain segment of women that are open to dating the guy, sleeping with the guy just because he's good looking and got a nice um body, that's that they will do that. So I don't think he's delusional, because there's a large number of women that will go for the peen, will go for the good looks, and don't care about the character.
He strikes me as, he will give the ladies in his DMs permission to use him, and use him often.
Often? How often? Twice a week?
Hey,
since, since
however,
Chris.
however many times the body can sustain.
Yeah, because he definitely was into using Charlie, but the more I thought about it, I had to really come off of this thing about feeling any kind of remorse for Charlie, because Charlie put herself in this predicament, and she didn't tell the man the truth, because if she felt like if she told him the truth, he would have never met up with her. And then she allowed him to quickly, the both of them, they chose to have a relationship, a physical relationship. And I'm like, Charlie, like, what is it you don't understand about this man not wanting to be with you? And you're saying he's sending mixed signals.
She didn't want to believe it. She didn't want to hear the truth. There's that quote from that movie: "You want the truth, but can't handle the truth."
Hmm.
Yeah, like he told her. But the thing is, he was also um, going along with her by saying he would try or whatever. So that's also going to contribute to mixed messages. He's already told you what his stance is, but you want him to try regardless of how he feels. So you're setting yourself up. And then it didn't do her any favors, the fact that she was messy as well in the house and kikiing behind people's back when their relationships were crumbling.
Yeah, that was the thing too. She didn't have any kind of empathy for anyone else in the house. She knew about Tatiana with the brain
Cavassier.
freeze, Cavassier or Clay. Yeah, she knew about that, and she thought that was a hoot. Everything was a hoot until it got to them, and then she's like, "Well, oh, you guys knew? Well, turnabout is fair play. Turnabout is fair play."
And she was also providing commentary in the confessionals, saying which couples weren't going to make it. They're not a real couple. They're not going to work, that type of stuff as well.
Right, and never really thinking that those three whole kids that she kept from Clay was going to make a difference. Well, yeah, it's going to make a difference. That's more money, more time. You got to give each kid individual time as well as collective time as a group. So why would you think that this is a thing? Like, you could just spring three kids on a man, and both of you are silly because you're going back and forth, and he's saying, well, she had a surprise, and oh yeah, but I had a surprise. I got one kid, two kids. So somebody in the chat is saying two kids. Which one is it? I thought he told her about the one kid, or no, he already had a child, and then he had another one recently, right? So two.
Yeah, and he's just like, you're a soul I'd love to keep in my life. It was nice knowing you. The thing is, for me, in many of an instance, Jared is the type of guy that don't have to say much, and a young lady can, lie to herself and create stuff in her head and think they're closer than they really are. and he just allow the fantasy to play out. That's what he sounds like to me. But Alexis is still there trying to tell Charlie, why are you holding on to hope? Why are you trying to hold on to any kind of hope when this man is showing you who he is?
Right. That's this comment right here. Yes. Is it sociopath? Because I always get those two mixed up when I was in psychology. Sociopath or psychopath? Because he's definitely because first of all, it appears from this edited show that this man is a pathological liar. And this whole word salad thing is giving off some narcissistic tendencies. So it's a lot going on there mentally with Jared. There's a lot going on. And he definitely appears to not have any empathy with the woman that he's been talking to for 4 years, who he says is his soulmate. His soulmate. Like, what? Your soulmate?
Mm-hmm.
Do you buy that, JR? That this
Not
woman
at all.
is his soulmate?
No, not at all. Because he would have wanted to be with her if that was his soulmate. He didn't. So no.
Right. Right. Absolutely. He would have wanted to be with her. The
I,
soul. Go
she
ahead.
could be his soulmate, but for how long? Because it seemed like he bored. He didn't say soulmate forever.
Hmm.
Or
That's
my
true.
soul could just mate with you for now, crack-a-lackin', that's it, but he says the words, salad that will get him what he wants.
Exactly. That word salad. Right. It's that word salad. It just it's a lot. It's a whole lot. So I love that her friend Alexis came to her and just was really straight. I don't feel like she was rude or anything, but she's really trying to get Charlie to see that Jared is just playing the game. And how is it that you don't see it? It's really because you don't want to see it. Would you agree with that, JR?
Yeah, and I'm surprised Brittany didn't say it, since Brittany and Charlie are supposedly best friends in the house. But um, yeah, she's been told many times, and I think Alexis was right. And she didn't even want to hear it from Alexis, let alone Jared. So she's confused herself. I'm sorry.
Right.
My confusion is, this man told you that he wants to be separate. He don't want to be with you at the show. Well, we heard from Jen Single, it's been 5 months at least since the show, and you still have the tattoo.
Yeah, what's up with that? Because she says she makes a good living. She makes a really good living. So could she have had? She could have had it removed, or if that's even, I hear that's very painful, even more painful than getting the actual tattoo. She could have had it worked over with another tattoo that covered it.
So now you look like he said he treated like a queen. You look like a royal fool coming up in there with his name or initials still tatted on you. And this is how he felt.
Mm-mm-mm. Well, for his part, Jared, like I said, he just really didn't seem to care. He said, first of all, if you ever need anything, after he had given all this back and forth, and then she said, well, what is that? She turns to the ladies and says, see, now y'all see what I'm talking about? And I could just see the ladies in their body language going like, girl, are you nuts? Are you really that desperate for a man?
Right. That was just platitudes. He was just, it's like, hey, it's like, see you around. See you next time.
Right.
It's not serious, but I'm sure if she ever in the Carolinas with a flat tire and she called him, he'll certainly help her. But it's not to say that we will have a relationship. It's like, if you ever need anything, hit me up.
Hit
That's
me
a
up.
standard.
Well, I just thought it was a standard for guys that you used to kick it with in the bed. They're basically saying, I'm going to leave this open so I can kick it with you in bed again. Friends with benefits. Like, why don't you get that? If you're immersed in this world of casual relationships and casual intimacy, then you already know that that's a game for this type of man. It's absolutely a game. He's
Because
talking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's
Um,
talking about on the one part, he's talking about, hey, they showed unseen, never before seen clips on the show. They showed a
mhm.
clip of him saying basically like, guys, just get ready because no matter what happens, your DM is going to be full of a whole lot of 304s, as my girl El Cid would say.
Mm. And in the same clips, he was saying again to the guys what his true intentions are. And when Charlie saw it, she was like, "Oh, so everybody knew except me." You know, you had people telling you, and uh, even after seeing that footage, she still seemed bewildered. Right? He's already told her he doesn't believe in monogamy the same way as she does, and he's just basically there to have fun while they're there, and that's it. Once they go home, they go their separate ways. So I agree with El Cid. Like that tattoo shouldn't even be there anymore because that relationship's over.
Is
I wouldn't be
see,
surprised if they were still talking, up until the reunion, because it's he is going to leave the door open. It's whether she walks in and wants to be with him continuously, because he probably like, okay, we done, but hey, if she called me to come over, I'm gonna be like, what time? You
Of
know,
course.
she is leaving herself open, and I hate to say it, to be a revolving door. Again, I don't know what it is, but Charlie isn't not just protecting her heart, she's not protecting her body. I
nope.
just don't understand what it is.
Right. And how do we even say by keeping his tattoo on her body, then that's also her leaving the door open because he's going to be like, she still got my name tattooed. So she still must be feeling it. And so if she still wants to crack, then let's hook up and crack, you
Yeah,
know?
I feel
And
like
he,
it's a flex. I feel like it's a flex for Jared to say that she has this tattoo. What do you think?
exactly. Yeah. And one of the ways she can close the door fully is to get that tattoo removed. And that
But
at least signifies that she no longer considers him in the same way anymore.
that also tells someone like Jared, I got my hooks in you. If I can get you to a point of tattooing my initials on your body and we haven't even met, I know you are, shout out to Monica, you are so gone. You are so gone. We haven't even met. And you got a tattoo of my initials. And you sent me an Xbox. She is financing him from afar.
Mm.
And that's what I don't understand because some people in the chat, I forget who it was exactly, but someone is saying that he's a school teacher. So what's the problem? Why can't he buy his own Xbox? Maybe it was a gift for something else. Maybe it was his birthday. What do you think, Jr.?
Mm, could be. It could just be a way to buy his affection as well, to show she's got the money to splurge on an Xbox and gift it to him. I don't know how much them things cost, but I know the maintenance, the games, all the other different things that come with it. It's maintenance and it's expensive. And if he's a school teacher, he doesn't even have much time to play Xbox or things like that. He has to plan sessions and lectures and lessons and mark homework and design lesson plans and things. So I don't know how much time he really has to do all of that. The long story short is, I think she was trying to just get into his good graces by buying him a few gifts and stuff. And
Oh,
he
okay.
took that, and the fact that she's got the tattoo and she's enamored by him, yeah, like he's gonna use the fact that she likes him as much and try and get what he can while she feels that. And then when the feelings dry up, then he's out.
Hmm. What did you guys think? Last thing, and we're going to wrap this up. What did you think of her saying that she has to understand? She's asking questions when Alexis is telling her, "Let it go, girl. Let it go. There's better for you out there, but this isn't it." But she says, um, Charlie says, I just have to understand things. That's who I am." I love the way people on these reality shows make these statements of, I do this because this is who I am. And like that is supposed to rationalize the most stupidest things they do or say. Because that's what I thought when she said, well, I have to understand. that's who I am. I'm like, no, you don't have to understand. Like, you don't have to understand a whole lot of things, like serial, you know, right? Serial people that take people out and unalive them. You don't have to understand them. It's a lot of things in the world you don't have to understand. What you have to do is accept that he only wants to play with you.
Hmm.
The thing is, what are you trying to understand? Understand that this man said he does not want you. Understand that this man said he go into his state, you go to yours. We had a good time. Bye. That is all you need to understand. Understand you have been duped. Understand that you had feelings in this that he did not have. Understand he is bored. That is it. Now you're looking like the clingy young lady who just doesn't get it when the man says, I'm done.
Right. That's it. Just like, what is it? Why do you need to understand something? What you what you could really understand is it's how a person treats you. Okay, let's forget everything he said. How has he treated you? Why did he wait to the last moment, the last minute to tell you on the show in front of everybody that, all of us watching, viewing audience, that he didn't want you because you got 4 kids, and he said it's not only that you lied about it, it's both that you lied about it and that you got 3 more extra kids than that one that he thought you had. JR, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Um, I don't think she's fully grasped that what she brings to the relationship is a lot for most guys to deal with. Um, and if Jared's already said nope, he doesn't see himself as part of that equation after that, then she has to accept that. Whether she likes him a lot, clearly, she's clearly visibly attracted to him. But the fact is, what she's looking for in terms of relationship, he's not offering that at all to her.
L said, not another love TKO by Teddy Pendergrass.
Yes, ma'am. That's what happened.
Just another love TKO. Shout out to Teddy Pendergrass. You are hilarious. You are hilarious. But on that note, anything else we got left to say about Jared and Charlie, or anything? Let me ask Sid, because El Sid, she had the opportunity to be on another podcast Friday, and I'm just wondering, was there anything that we learned from Charlie that we haven't talked about yet?
Not that, other than what JR showed that, she was married, there wasn't anything else. What we did see was Jay was live on Instagram after the reunion. She
Okay.
also had Tatiana on there with Kiki.
Hmm.
Kiki was heeing and hawing about how exactly she saw Chris and Alexis, what she saw them doing. She was heeing and hawing, and then Jared rolled through just to say hello. Clay rolled through just to say hello, and Brandon rolled through. But more importantly, it's like Kiki was the only one that was like, "Oh no, don't bring Brandon up." She was the only one like, "Oh no, 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 no." But we didn't.
Well,
I didn't learn too much. The
what?
ladies are trying. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to get this in before I forget. Why do you think Kiki is feeling that way or saying that about her and Brandon?
She said because she's taking a hurting on social media because Brandon got the darling edit while she's seen as the bad guy, but
Okay.
I don't think she's learned why she's seen as the bad guy.
No, there's no accountability there whatsoever. So no, she doesn't see herself as doing anything wrong.
And
And
mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say not only that, not any self awareness either. On
No,
a lot of these people's parts, no self awareness of how you come across. Like, why would somebody be mad because I was living with somebody for the whole time virtually that we were talking? Why would somebody be angry about that?
exactly.
Hey, it's short king season because I'm sure Brandon's DMs are well lit.
Oh yeah. And I ain't mad at him either, because he
Mm-mm.
deserves it. He deserves it. I feel like, um,
Exactly.
Well, with that said, again, guys, we asked earlier, but now that there's a few more of you in the room, drop down real quick and let us know, what would you rate this show on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you rate it? Like 10 being outstanding, nine, similar, one being awful. Where would you rate this reunion? Because I just felt like, for me, there weren't enough questions asked about the things that we cared about. Like, we just didn't get that.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, I wonder if she also disclosed to Jared about the medical issue she has, or if she even brought up the fact that she was on TV before, and if he had actually seen that episode where she appeared on there with her ex-husband and her children.
Hey, she's been on TV before. Clay's been on TV before. Chris. Who else? I mean, daggone it. We should go down the roster.
Yeah, it's that way. I don't know if anything they could improve upon. I would say, if you're gonna do a reunion, do it in, at least, like El Cid said, do it for like 2 hours where we get all the tea that we want to get. We might need to replace. I love you, Taronda, respectfully, but we might need to replace her and have another host that's gonna really get into. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Keisha Knight Pulliam do the reunion on this.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Right. Exactly. Chicago girls. Too many unanswered questions. It really wasn't the best reunion. In fact, might have been one of the worst I've seen in a long time. But, I thought the season was better than the reunion. And to me, it's not supposed to be that way. What do you think, JR?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the reunion was underwhelming. I think, like we said earlier, it may have been down to time constraints. They just decided to leave out a lot of the questions, a lot of the scenarios, the context. Uh, so I was disappointed. And like you guys said, they could have at least extended it if they weren't going to make a part two. It's made it a bit longer, so we got more information. But yeah, it was underwhelming for me.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was lackluster. It was very lackluster. I did appreciate the looks. They came, most of them came, in my opinion, dressed for a reunion, but it wasn't giving. It was not giving what it was supposed to give. And it could be, as they said, that the reunion was filmed before the show ended. So it could be that, most of what we saw they didn't even know was going to end up on the show, and what they were, going to have to discuss.
Ah, okay. Okay, that's a good point. That is a good point. So it almost feels like then too, well, I don't know. So yeah, because how do you tape it? Was it you? Wait a minute, Elsie, say what you said on Friday about if they were to do a reunion. What were you saying? Do you recall?
If they were to do this reunion, I just want them to do two, or they can bring on guests, because I would love Clay's friend to be a guest on the show, on the reunion. You know how the reunions have surprise guests? I would love her to come on.
Right.
I would love to, find out, Kiki's ex fiance.
Yeah, that would be good. Absolutely.
But yeah, do a live reunion, or do a reunion where we can the fans could ask questions. Definitely.
Okay, yeah. And I think also the thing was, I think it was you that alluded to that, maybe sometimes do a reunion live. So that way the cast has seen all of the shows, including the finale, and now we know what to talk about.
Right. You could do it like a week before. You already know by the time half the season is posted, what you've edited down to, what
Hmm.
all the episodes are going to be. You could do it at midway throughout the season, but budgetary restraints, you probably wanted to do this right,
Live?
right here, right now, while they were all still in LA before all of it got aired. That's probably what happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I don't know. It says now. I see two different things. It was filmed 6 months after the show wrapped, and then some say 5 months, 5 months, 6 months, somewhere in there. So
Yeah, I think
one of the things they could have done is definitely have like an open panel. So similar to the setup on tonight's conversation. I don't know if you follow that page, but where you have people in the audience that can ask specific questions, because we all watch the same thing and come away with different opinions, receive different information. So it would have been interesting to have a more uh, live debate about situations, because, as we said, a lot of stuff got omitted and didn't even get glossed upon, didn't even get brought up. I don't think it would be a good idea to bring, people like Clay's friend, because that would just immediately cause chaos between her and Tatiana. And then, then we'd have to look at, like you said, Kiki's fiance. He could potentially come on. Charlie's husband, or the one night stand dude, he could potentially be on. There'll be too many. It's too much contention.
Yeah, but you got to pick and choose. When you say, Sid, with that situation, you're going to pick and choose who's going to come on. It's not a thing where it has to be across board, because one person's ex came on. Now all 13 other people have to have an ex come on. It's not like that.
Clay's ex just came as a visitor. No, I'm just saying, from the visitors that came that already have their non-disclosure agreements on file,
right?
If we had to pick a guest from any one of these people, I picked Brittany's mother to, and Ty's brother to come on. I would also, there's a lot of people who already were on the show I would pick to come back, including Kiki's friend.
Oh yeah. Now he wasn't on. You're right. You're absolutely right. And Ty's brother, because I tell you what, Brittany seemed to have bigger goo-goo eyes for him than she had for Ty, for sure.
And Kiki's friend didn't trust or like Brandon. And was that from information that Kiki had given to her, or is it she'd formed her own opinion based on Kiki's behavior or attitude towards Brandon, or things she shared about Brandon? So that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
So, JR, tell the people where they can find you. Tell the YouTubers where they can find you.
You can find me on Life is Reality YouTube channel, reviewing shows like Ready to Love and NeverEverMedts and things like that. Trying to see Black love succeed rather than chaos. And then on Instagram, my IG is JRXTV, and that's where you'll see more health, well-being, fitness-related content, and a few other things that I show in my stories. So check it out if you have time.
Yeah, check it out if you have time. Absolutely. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button, whether you're watching on the replay or you're hanging out with us live, even if you're in those bushes. I know I see you. I see you in them bushes. Go ahead and hit that like, add the subscribe, and chat with us in the comment section. Sid, would you tell us what you've got going on your channel?
Yes, I am Elsid932 on YouTube. Aubrey and I cover Somebody's Son on Tuesdays at 4:05 p.m. EST. It's going to be spicy this Tuesday. Somebody's always on my nerves. Somebody's always on my nerves.
Yes. Always.
And this week is no different. Also, I do unsolicited advice, where I poll people asking the internet for advice, be it from Instagram or Reddit. They ask for relationship advice, from very mild, I don't like that my girlfriend don't pick up her clothes off the floor, to very spicy, where people are having, intimacy issues. So we cover that in unsolicited advice. I also do unscripted on Fridays at 5:05 EST. That's where the chat determines what they want to talk about. But right now I'm reviewing Alone. That is a survival show on History Channel for those of you who are survivalists and love to see people survive in the wilderness. This is Africa's season, and it is coming along famously. 2 people have already tapped out, and we're only up to episode 2.
Oh, wow. How many people did they start with?
They started with 10, and after day 4, 2 people are gone. People are fishing, people are hunting game. If that is your type of show, I love to watch it, because I know my skill set is not in surviving in the wilderness. Okay. So I'm also preparing for Project Runway season 21. It starts at the end of July, and I love Project Runway So I'm preparing a meet the designers, and we're going to do that because my favorite, Law Roach, the image architect, is a permanent judge this season, and I love Law Roach. But yeah, Raid to Love comes back in August, y'all, August 1st.
All right, there you have it, guys. And you got where you can find JRX also known as Life is Reality. And you've got LCID 932. You guys got to check them out. Go over, watch their material, sign up, subscribe, hit like, and do all those things that are thinging, right? Because we're going to shimmy and shake on out of here, guys. Love you, and thanks for hanging out with us all the way through this podcast.